Hello and welcome to the Inside the Lab weekly live show, the weekly live experience. We are back for another Saturday episode, and I'm not sure where you are in the world or out there on the globe, but it's pretty nice. It's a pretty beautiful day out here in my neck of the woods, so to speak, if you will. But we're here for our weekly live experience with today's topic being some of the ways to maintain your gaming PC. Now, if you're here on the replay and you have a question, or if you have any questions about anything we discuss during this live show, please feel free to drop it down in the comment section below. I do tread back and I do answer questions if if you're able to hang out for the full duration of the replay, which I greatly appreciate it. I know sometimes our live shows do, run a little bit over the hour mark, but for this live show, we're going to try to keep it, short and sweet and to the point. I may even go on a mini RX 6700 XT rant because, again, unless you've been living underneath of a rock or just keeping, haven't had your ears to the ground and keeping up with some of the new GPU launches, uh, the RX 6700 XT was essentially another paper launch, if you will. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more throughout the duration of this live show. And again, if you're here on the replay and you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you're here on the live show and you have any questions, do feel free to ask. Again, we are going to discuss, ways that you can maintain your gaming PC because it is time consuming. It can be risky, but it is absolutely necessary to maintain your components, maintain your PC, and everything that entails with it, including your keyboard, your mouse, or what have you, the insides of your computer. So we're going to talk about some ways you can maintain your PC, some ways you can save money, even doing it, and how maintaining your PC can save you money. Because essentially we're in strange times, folks, right? Like right now we're in strange times. That's why it's important now more than ever to ensure that you maintain your setup and all of its internal and external components. But what are some of the best tools and tricks to keeping your PC running as efficiently as possible? And by efficiently, I mean, heat is one of the number one component killers, and we're going to talk about component killers during this live show, right? That's what we're discussing in this live show, while of course answering your questions along the way. And if you are unable to join us here for the live show or the live experience, and you're watching on the replay and you made it this far, I do want to inform you that we go live every Saturday between 4 to 5 o'clock, somewhere between that time, Eastern Standard Time. So if you're, if you want to partake in the live experience here in person and have your questions answered real time, you can try to look out for the links. I normally do try to post them in the beginning of the week. That way, if you want to set the reminder and see if it works for your schedule, you're able to, you're able to accomplish that, right? Like you're able to set aside the time to make the live show. But again, that's what we're discussing and more during this live show, is how to maintain your PC. This is for a lot of our topics for our live experiences kind of center around two different enthusiasts in mind. Either you haven't yet built your system, or you're on the cusp of building your system. Maybe you were going to build your system, but the techdemic, right? The techdemic, what we talked about, the techdemic hit, and that might have put that that might have put your setup, might have put your build on pause because you were unable to complete it with a dedicated video card. Something most gamers almost absolutely certainly want in their PC. So this live show, of course, is dedicated to those who may already have their PC built, right? Maybe you already have your system, but this is also centered around those of you who have yet to get your setup or have yet to buy even any of your components. Maybe you haven't even thought of a platform, or maybe you haven't even considered what resolution and graphic fidelity level you may want to play on. And by graphic level fidelity, I mean, are you in ultra settings, high settings, medium settings? Maybe you don't even really want to be too concerned about graphic detail, and you just want, right, to experience the game as smooth as possible. So maybe maybe higher refresh rates are your target. So maybe you haven't considered any of those things yet, but this information will still help you, will still prove valuable once you're able to make that leap and you're able to get your get your system up and running, and you're able to make sure that you are keeping your making sure your system is running as efficiently as possible, right? Zfluent says, Zfluent has an early question for us today. Zfluent says, which GPU is better, GTX 1660 or RX 580? GTX 1660 indefinitely, if you can find one, because of the NVENC encoder. The 16 series has the newer encoders on board of the GPU, so you want to go with the 1660 when applicable. The RX 580 is a fine graphics card, Zfluent, and I know you DM me your specs. And I've yet to check your reply. I do apologize about that, but my recommendation would be to go with the GTX 1660 if you can find it. It may have 2 gigabytes less VRAM, but it's very much still faster. The RX 580 does have 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but it's not really a max settings, 1080p max settings level graphics card, right? You may have to compensate in some games, but with the 1660, the GTX 1660, it's just overall a faster card. So awesome questions, Zfluent. And again, if you're here on the live show and you just joined us, if you have any questions throughout the live show, throughout this live experience, do feel free to ask them at any time. I see we had a few new friends join us. We are discussing ways to maintain your gaming PC setup, right? Because it is important now more than ever. Why? Because especially with video cards, especially with the GPU situation, it could be extremely difficult for you to replace your graphics card in the event, right, heat or some other form of failure happens to bestow yourself on your hardware, and you're unable to replace your graphics card, right? The CPU situation has improved, but if you're looking for newer CPUs, you would be, especially Ryzen 5, along the lines of Ryzen 5000, you would be along the lines of somewhere between a 5800X and a 5600X. So really, with the Ryzen 5000, the 5900 and the 5950X are still MIA, and I read an interesting article as to why that is. And to put it as simple as possible, you have to understand how AMD manufactures their CPUs, and the fact that they come in their CCX chiplets or CCX modules that are essentially 4-core chiplets. So AMD would rather manufacture a 6-core 12-thread CPU and an 8-core 16-thread CPU, versus the higher end CPUs. They could sell more 5600Xs and 5800Xs. So that's interesting what's going on in the CPU market. But depending on your needs, chances, most likely you don't need anything past 6 cores unless you are a content creator or you want to get into streaming even as a cache. So I do plan on doing more streamer based content later down into 2021 because I do feel like it's becoming more and more popular, and that the younger generation, something the younger generation is going to want to do, and are going to be hungry for that information. And I want to make sure this community and everybody who's a part of it is there to help them answer any questions they may have, because again, the overall mission is to convert as many gamers over to this platform because it is the pinnacle of PC gaming. We did a whole live conversation about it, folks, and you can find that down in the basement. Excuse me, down in the basement, aka the description box below. I do apologize about that, but these things I'm passionate about, and one thing I am passionate about is going live. I do love our live experience, but we're discussing some ways to maintain your PC, right? That's what we're discussing in this live show, and of course answering your questions along the way. So if you're new here, welcome. Again, welcome to the Inside the Lab weekly live experience. I'm Terrence, your conductor and operator of this here ride. And with that said, let's ready up and begin. Let's jump right into it. And again, if you have any questions along the way, or if you have some helpful information you would like to add to the conversation, do please feel free to chime in and share with us right here in the chat. I see we got Tricion. What's up, T? It's good to see you. And Thunder, too. Thunder checked in. It's good to see you, T. It's good to see you. Thunder, welcome, folks. Welcome. Your Highness. Your Highness is good to see you, too, fam. Oh, love when our regulars come back and join in for the weekly live experience, folks. This community is growing. Again, take a second, share this link out on your socials, share it on your, across your socials, share it with your friends. I know I follow a lot of you, especially that are here now, and I do see your retweets and your shares and your engagement, and I super appreciate the community. Again, without the community, us creators, we are nothing, right? Like we simply don't exist. So yeah. What's up to Tricion and Your Highness? And Zfluent says, what are your specs? So for what PC? I guess I would answer that question by saying my daily driver, like what I use to create content on, like this system, the constants never change. Like I have a couple of already built systems or just components that are interchangeable, but this system doesn't change, and it has an 8700K and an RTX 2080 Ti, essentially 16 gigabytes of Corsair RAM, and I did plan on upgrading it to the 9900K because the 9900K still has incredible value in my honest opinion. I know we got a couple 9900Ks, or at least one of you are rocking a 9900K, but in my editing rig, I do plan on upgrading to a 9900K. Before we jump into the conversation, I do want to add that, Intel is preparing to launch their 11th generation Rocket Lake CPUs, and I've kind of been indecisive on the direction to go in terms of upgrading my dedicated system, like go with a Z590 motherboard and a i9-11900K, because the 500 series chipset, at least as of right now, which in my wholehearted opinion, very much could change, but right now it's only set to top out at 8 cores and 16 threads. So we won't see 10 core 20 threads 11 900Ks, at least at initial launch. I really think Intel would possibly shift their way of thinking, unless they're saving, waiting to compete with AMD in terms of going core for core with 12th generation, which should be on board to go to 10 nanometers. So we'll have to see, but interesting times nonetheless. And I'm unsure if, is it better to just go with a 10 core, 20 thread, 10900K for the editing rig? Whereas AMD, Intel is claiming a 19% IPC uplift over 10th generation Comet Lake. So it's kind of telling you where IPC is always king first. Like IPC matters before cores, even in a game that's heavily multi-threaded or relies on multiple threads. IPC very much still plays an important role. And if you have multiple cores, IPC plays an even important role because you want those cores to be fast cores, not just having a lot of cores sitting back doing anything. Even if you have an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, and the game may only take up maybe 4 cores and 4 threads, you want those 4 cores or 4 threads to be running as efficiently as possible or as fast as possible. So I may just hold out and switch use a 9900K as a high resolution test rig. But we have a lot of different options coming out of March here, and you're just gonna have to sit back and watch the content and find out what happens, right? Your Highness says, hello inside the lab. Hello to you, Your Highness, Thunder, Z-Fluent, everybody. Hello and welcome. I tell you what, let's jump into the conversation and kick off with everybody's, favorite segment, and that's the housekeeping segment. Like, come on, fam, we were going to do it. If you haven't yet, I welcome you to sign up for our email list. Sign up for our email list. Unity, it starts with you, right? It starts with you. It starts with everybody that's right here on the live show. If you have an email and you use it, which if you're right here on YouTube, you have a Gmail email, right? So if you have an email, I definitely welcome you to sign up. Join our email list. We are preparing to launch the community Discord, and the only members who will get first notice before it becomes a paid tier into the channel membership, which do keep a lookout because I'm unsure if we want to go with Patreon as a channel membership platform and YouTube as a channel member platform, or just wait until I'm potentially able to unlock channel memberships here on YouTube. So do keep a lookout for that. But as I promised in our New Year's Eve live show, starting with our community Discord, which is going to be closed off for members of this community only, those of you who are signed up for the email list will get notified first and will get the first invitation. So if you want to be one of the first members to join the Discord and you haven't yet signed up for our newsletter, again, I welcome you to, at some point after the live show, or you can leave now and come back if you're unable to remember at the end of the show, but at some point I welcome you to head down the description box below, sign up for our email list. YouTube notifications aren't that great. Social media notifications in general aren't that great. And when it comes to important updates, right, in terms of like launching the Inside the Lab, the Lab Network community Discord, it's very important that those notifications are targeted, right? Targeted to our core supporters, right? Our loyal members, and that is the majority of you who are here now. People like Your Highness and Tricion and Cliff, who's XLRA Gaming, and just to name a few. But Unity starts with you. It starts with all of you. Again, you can always unsubscribe for the email list. Should you deem me not worthy enough to embrace your email box, all I need is your email address or your inbox. I'm sorry. All I need is your email address and your first name, so we know where to find you and what to call you. Very important. We continue to grow this because anything could happen to the channel. It could be hacked. It could be taken away. It can be between those two things. Those are some of the most common ways channels disappear. But it could be taken down, it could be hacked, or it could just overall be compromised. And being able to keep in touch with the core members, as much of you as possible, signing up for our email list is one way to is one way to help ensure that we don't ever lose our communication. And I also find email communication to be a little bit more personal. So sign up for that. Do check that out down in the description box. Another link you can find out in the description box is our merch store. Now, it's been a busy week for your boy Lab. Okay, it's been a busy week, but I have been working on some newer designs. I know a member I believe it was a couple shows ago, had inquired about stickers. So stickers are coming to the store along with other digital downloads and digital products that could help. A few other designs that I have worked up. Our moderator, you can't see her right now. She's wearing this shirt right here. I know I'm a handful, but that's why I got two hands. It looks really good in person. We also ordered her we ordered the hoodie. I know I have two hands, but that's why. I know I'm a handful, but that's why I got two hands. Like, I love this shirt. But we ordered this hoodie, and we also ordered this one right here, the Domain Class Plug Edition, and both of them look really good in person. I have some amazing ideas and concepts coming up for the merch, because I don't just want to make it about, it's just merch to support a creator or the brand. I want you to make a fashion statement. So I do plan on, contracting and even possibly hiring and working with graphic designers locally here to come up with some fresh new swag, if you will, that would just help you, look good while you're playing your games and feel good gaming, whether you're a creator or not. So do bounce back and forth between the Inside the Lab official merch store. I can tell you now, all proceeds, all the merch is priced real as low as I could possibly, as low as Teespring will allow me, which Teespring, forces you to have a designated amount, even if it's only like $1, which I believe that's what the most I make off each product sold. It's more so about brand recognition and just representing the community and finding some dope swag. But when the stickers do come in, I will, reach out and communicate with each of you through the socials and through the email list so I can mail them out to you. So you won't have to pay for a sticker, obviously, because it's a sticker. Come on, they're going to be so cool. It won't just be like the Inside the Lab logo. They're going to be pretty dope. Tech for your needs. Tech for your needs is good to see you. Tech for your needs says hello, folks. Good to see a fellow techie in the chat. It's good to see you. Welcome to the live experience. Tech for your needs. We're discussing some of the best ways to maintain your gaming PC to ensure that your PC is running as efficiently as possible, or just ensuring the lifespan of your components, which is very important, especially with the climate of the market right now. Not so much CPUs, but arguably second most important component with the system, and that's your video card. If you want to do any serious gaming at beyond especially 1080p or 1080p 60 fps, you likely would want and need to invest in a dedicated video card. So if something happens to your components, it could be detrimental to your experience right now, because we are unable to find competitive price. Let me just say it, graphics cards at MSRP. But we're going to talk about that in this live show. So remember, do be sure to stick around, because we're going to go in on that topic, especially when I tweeted out this link, I said I might go on a mini rant. Folks, I'm here to tell you, I am not the best ranter. I've tried it off camera, and I go back and I watch it. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't a rant. This is me just in my bag. This is me just getting stuff off my chest. This isn't a rant. So I'm going to try to rant, because the 6700 XT launch on the 18th, it's come and it's gone, and it's essentially another paper launch, fam. I'm here to tell you, folks, it's not only a matter of it being scalped. There's not even a lot being scalped. It's just like non-existent. It's like, how dare AMD launch this graphics card? But we're going to talk about it, or I'm sorry, announce this graphics card, because that's essentially what they did. They announced this graphics card, threw it in the laps of your larger tech, your larger tech tubers, just so they can advertise a product that's not available to consumers, folks. This is a conflict. This is a big issue. But, if you want to rep the community, definitely bounce back and forth between the official Inside the Lab merch store. Look good playing, feel good gaming. That's my saying, and that's rhyming a little bit. I don't know if we're going to kick any freestyles this live show. We'll see. But awesome merch there. Again, it does help the channel directly and in a great way. Another way that directly helps the channel, benefit the channel, is you visiting our website, the InsideTheLab.net website. You can find, or the website kind of acts as an extension of the content. So if you want to catch up with Inside the Lab off hours or outside of live shows, and maybe not, in between unorthodox hours of the night, although I am a night owl, I don't spend a lot of time on social media during the night, but I normally am up like past 12 o'clock at night. I do like to do a lot of online reading, like different articles, and just trying to stay current on the news. But you can, speaking of staying current, find all our key social media here, view our entire videography, catch any previous live shows down here on the weekly Inside the Lab live experience page, and of course our blog, which I'm going to add fresh new content here, monthly fresh new content. And if you have any criticisms or questions or any complaints, right, maybe I said something you didn't like, and that's all good, fam. I'm not, you can't appeal to everybody, but you can also, contact me here directly if you have any questions, or if you have any critiques or concerns. I do check my email vehemently daily. But again, all three of those links you can find down in the basement. And remember, again, we call the basement the description box. So when you hear me say down in the basement, we are talking about the description box. Let me jump over to the chat, because I know I missed a comment earlier. Triceon says, or Thunder said, mouse pads. Right? They're all like, mouse pads are cool. Did you know you can have RGB mouse pads? Like, isn't that dope? Right? Like, I love RGB. We know we talk about that a lot here on the channel, but our RGB mouse pads, especially between Corsair and Razer, then they have the extended mouse pads that are long enough to position your keyboard and your mouse. So it's just really dope. It's amazing what you can do with a full PC setup. It's one of the reasons why our mantra here in this community is that consoles have a purpose, but PCs have characters, and that extends beyond the internals of your system, right? I mean, that is your whole entire setup. That's the monitor, your keyboard, your mouse, your gaming headset, your audio solution, right? We talked about that in last week's live show or last week's live conversation. And if you want to, catch up on last week's live show, I do leave them up as is, right? Like as close to the live experience as possible. It's recommended that you answer your questions along the way, but I just want to remind you that I answer the questions throughout the duration of the live show, just in case you're unable to stick around towards the end and you may have a key question you may need answer. So and maybe you can't wait, maybe you're ready to pull the trigger on your PC, maybe you're ready to pick up that graphics card and you're not sure if it's going to suit your needs, right? Or play the games, you play the games at the resolution and frame rate and graphics quality that you may want to. And Tracion says, get one of them channel login keys if you're worried about being hacked. Unless someone steals all your stuff, they won't be able to get in. Yeah, and I was following the hackpocalypse, if you will, and especially when it first like when I first noticed it on a larger YouTuber really fast. I want to touch on this. It was Joker or Joker Production, JPP. A fella, he's in Jersey, does like a lot of different, up news content and what have you in PC. And I watched him years ago, way before I even considered making content. But I remember Joker's channel being hacked because I had got a notification about him going live, and I saw the notification. I didn't recognize the channel, and I went to the live show, and it was like a Bitcoin scam. And I had tweeted over the Joker about. I said, "Yo, bro," I said, your channel?" I said, "This is what's being displayed on your channel right now." And so he saw it and jumped out, and next thing you know, he started scrambling. But what happened with Joker is he clicked on a link inside of his email. Now, I'm here to tell you right now, fam, it is very much a reality, and it is so when it's a larger creator like Joker, or if you imagine that you say, how were they able to hack a lot of these bigger channels? And that's because they get so many emails from brands, and like brand managers is what they call themselves. And it's easy to click on a link, if you're not in a good state, if you're not in a good place. Now, what was happening is that these so-called brand managers were sending these larger tech tubers legit looking links, to products and services, and they were clicking on the links, and what was happening was it was actually directing that YouTuber's login information to, the other side. And I've gotten shady links myself. I have a routine that I follow too, even when I'm. Let me turn this. Let me brighten up here a little bit. There we go. But I have a routine I follow, even when I get brand deals. Get them on the regular. They're all not fictitious. They're all not malevolent. But there are genuine ones that you want to be concerned, because you can be hacked. Even by just opening up the email. It doesn't necessarily require you to click on the link. You make it easier when you click on the link, but just opening up the email could very well subject you to malware and other spyware that could just take your information, take your data without knowing it. So, the idea of being hacked is kind of like, you just got to be smart. You got to be safe, because I get links too. And I don't have my, for the creators who are having their AdSense stolen from you, for those who don't know, it's best practice to not have your YouTube channel email be your AdSense email. You want it to be like a non-public email address, so that when your YouTube channel is compromised, this is essentially why they want your email address. They want to get access to your AdSense account, because the creators only got hip now that, oh, I should have a separate email address with your AdSense account. Now, I do have an AdSense account because our website is monetized, and that is a non-public email address, right? And that's generally the best way to go, to where even if your YouTube channel is compromised, your AdSense account isn't compromised, because they're connected, but they're very much, curated differently, I guess you can say. But yeah, so that many rant over. Going back to, but yeah, I try to, just channel this community, and I look at it as having access to it. It's very important that I, do my due diligence and keeping you guys safe, because when that happened to Joker, I kind of felt a little let down as an audience member of his audience, because the link was just very, it was scam, and it was easy to get people caught up in the scam for those who may have just not known. So hard stuff to watch there. But moving down here, I'm sorry. Let me get caught up some more in the chat before we get caught up. And wait a minute, scrolling fast. There we go. Champion Mo says, peace family. What's happening, John? It's good to see you. Tech for Your Needs says, brand recognition equals marketing. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you want to get your brand in front of as many eyes as possible, right? But having your brand structured a certain way definitely helps too. Like you normally see the inside the lab green on most of the stuff I publish. I like the color green. We kind of went over why I branded the channel around the color green. I left it in that live show, and you were fortunate enough to be in that one that you know why we chose green. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Tech for Your Needs. And Champion says, I'm in the market right now for a new card, and it's slim pickings. Yeah, again, I'm going to, I guess, mini rant on that, but it is slim pickings, and by slim pickings, it may not be the graphics card you want. Like, of course, everybody wants the shiny RX 6800 XT. It's a beast graphics card. It's a fast graphics card, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, but it's just not available. At its especially at it more so at its MSRP. That's what's important to note. You can find them, unfortunately, in the scammer market, with 40 to 50% marked up prices. So the pickings are slim. It's just slimmer on newer hardware. But nonetheless, it is slim, and we are going to talk about it some more in the live show. But Tech for Your Needs says that is the point of ranting, getting things off your chest. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just when I do it, when I'm doing it on VODs, I've gone on many rants here where I've just maybe like ran the beat right for like 30, 40 seconds, just like not just went in non-breath, just dove in. But I found it better that I rant better, I guess, during the live shows than I do during the VODs, because in the VODs, we're just laid back and it's just me and Mrs. Ma. But shout out to our moderator in the chat for helping keeping the conversation going and welcoming in new guests. Thanks to shout out to our Mrs. Mod. But you look at it like a rant, like you said, getting things off your chest, but more so there's a way, because I do like to keep this environment, friendly and just overall a friendly family environment to where you can watch with whoever around you. But you can get things off your chest, but there's certain ways of doing it. And when I do it on the VODs, if I did include language, if you will, not to get all Captain America on you, but if I did involve language, I would probably just block it out anyway. I'm such a square, right? In a world full of circles, I'm such a square. But I like to keep the community open to as many people as possible, to as many ears and eyes as possible, right? Which, on a side note, when we do launch channel memberships, I have something really, really fun that's going to help extend the conversation super informally. But if you're interested in supporting the channel, again, keep a lookout for the poll, because I am going to drop the poll. I want to know is the community okay with starting with the Patreon? If we would migrate over to YouTube is what I would prefer. But it's also good practice to keep them separate. So the Patreon would maybe have more exclusive, personal benefits and tiers to engage with the community, where on YouTube it would be more so about like support, getting a cool badge, maybe a members only live stream or a members only post here and there. Will I give you like a future outlook on like the next video, or share like a behind the scenes live stream while I'm working on the next video? Do keep a lookout for the poll. So if you want to support through channel memberships, they are coming. I know some of you have DM me, have DM me and asked for ways to support the channel. And I know right now there are no formal monetization ways to do so, unless it's through merch, right? But maybe you don't want to support with merch, and that's totally understandable, totally fine. But maybe you want to sign up for channel memberships and say, well, hey, I want the badge, or I want that informal hangout, or I want that, way to talk to you on the phone, right? All these things are going to come up, right? And it's going to be so dope. I have some really interesting ways. I've been working with Mrs. Mod here to help me implement ways I can pull the community in and make it as personal as possible, right? If you're willing to sign up for a subscription, like you sign up for HBO Max, you sign up for Netflix, Disney Plus, right? Disney Plus. Which, tell me if you watched the Falcon Winter Falcon. What is it? The Winter Falcon and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let me know if you watched it. It's all right. I need a little bit more, as they showed us their whole entire budget in the beginning of the episode, but I don't review pop culture here, but I am a comic book fan. I'm more so a DC fan. But tell me if you watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But when you pay for subscription models like that, you want to make sure you're getting value. So once you want to support, if you want to support the channel through memberships, then you do believe that I'm going to do my best to ensure that I am providing value to you as a member here in the community, because that's what it's all about as a content creator here on this platform. Let me scroll back up. Man, the chat's moving. Chat's moving really fast on me, fam. I do apologize. Champion Mode says, oh, okay, I answered that. Your Highness says, what's the problem? What's the problem shortage of silicone memory chips tariff? So, Your Highness, to answer your question, it's a lack of Samsung memory chips. So it has everything to do with the GDDR5 memory chips. This is why the 3090, right, and the 6900 XTs are easier to find, where your middle of the way cars, the cars that use the GDDR5 memory chips, they're harder to find. That's because they're in short supply. It also has a lot to do with AMD sharing sharing their chips with their console partners, right? AMD and Microsoft. That's what the biggest deal, especially how consoles now, the PS5 and Xbox Series S X, has become more PC-like more than ever in those consoles' latest iterations. They are using Zen 3 and RDNA 2 graphic chips. So that also is playing a role. This is why, AMD and Nvidia and their partners are unable to secure, enough memory chips. There's just not enough to go around. We all can chalk that up to a certain global pandemic that's ravishing many countries around the world. So hey, I do encourage you guys to stay safe, stay clean. Don't get this bug, but hey, listen, just stay safe, stay clean, right? Um, and Your Highness says, mine and pandemic or a combination of those things. Yeah, I'm sorry. So an extension of your question, it is a combination of all of those things, right? Because the fluctuation of GPU of cryptocurrency, right? It goes up, then it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. So that instability also transcends over to the GPU market. If you noticed, around this time last year, graphics cards were available. You could find them, right? You could find them. But as we got closer towards the middle of the year, once crypto prices went up, those graphics cards became hard to find again, and we had that GPU shortage of 2020. Now we're having another GPU shortage in 2021. Coincidence? I think not. Unfortunately, the GPU market and cryptocurrency goes hand in hand. Now, I dropped my statement on GPU miners, and I said I don't, my official statement, my official on the record statement about GPU miners is I don't do it. That doesn't mean you should or shouldn't do it. I think that it's up to the manufacturers to meet the supply and demand of gamers, right? To suit the needs of both consumer groups. That is where our frustration, should lie therein, and that is with the manufacturers, not with say, oh well, we should hate miners because they're buying all the graphics cards, right? Or the miners aren't worried about PC gamers, okay? They have the tools, they have the means, they know the way to get these graphics cards. So it is a combination of all of those things. But it's just friends and family, I'm here to tell y'all right now, it's not just miners that are, buying graphics cards and running up the prices. I'm here to tell you there are normal people. I've talked to them, right? I've tried just figuring out how did they, hey, I even asked you to say, well, just tell me, where did you go to get your 6800 XT when I'm shopping the used market? And I'm going to rant about that too, because I've been shopping the used market here lately, and people just aren't willing to, ship. I had somebody sell, and somebody was listing an R9 390X, an MSI R9 390X for $100. Now, granted, they said it was sitting in their washroom and they weren't sure if it was working, and the person was a little bit of ways from me, to where I'm like, do I really want to drive like an hour away to take this risk on this graphics card? And I even offered the person to pay them slightly more than their listing and the shipping, just to ship it to me, and they just responded with it, well, I have somebody that's going to buy it down the street. So, I mean, that's obviously a load of crock, right? That's obviously BS, but it is what it is. And it's just a couple of deals that I just passed over because the person wasn't willing to ship. Somebody was selling a RTX 2060 on the Facebook Marketplace for $350. That's not bad, all things considered. But that person too just did not want to ship, and they were in Jersey. And again, I was willing to compensate them a little bit more, pay for shipping, but they just didn't want to. These are graphics cards I want to do content on because I feel like they're very much still relevant in that sub $400 price category. Now, I also have been scouring eBay to put my money, or to put my money, yeah, to put my money where my mouth is, right? And that is last week's live show. We talked about how, really fast, just to do a quick recap, we talked about how you could very much still build a custom PC and then use the supplement, take advantage of that new used price of performance, right? And pick up a graphics card over on eBay. If you built smartly and you saved yourself about about $400 to $500 easy, could net you a 1060, a 1060 or GTX 1070, somewhere in between there, a graphics card that if you put most of your interest in the monitor, right? Let's say if it's a 1080p 75 hertz monitor. We talked about that too in that live show. Or it's a 1440p 60 hertz or 75 hertz monitor. And you just say, you know what? Well, I want to start off with a bomb monitor first, and I'll upgrade my GPUs once the tech demic, right? We've branded that. That's going to be on the shirt too, right? The tech, that what I've been calling the tech demic. That's going to be on the shirt. But just overall, just we're gonna talk about how, and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. And I've been trying to get one of these graphics cards. I've been eBay sniped a couple times. If you don't know what that is, just some bidders just hang around to like the very last second and sneak in and up the bid before you could buy it because the time ran out. So it's happened twice, and I lost out on a GTX 1060 at $330, which wasn't bad considering it was in a box and it had the original box. Everything looked clean, and the user claimed it wasn't a mining card, but this is, essentially for an experiment. If I get it and it does overheat, and I kind of hope it does, because I want to crack open another GPU, because I'm still getting the too much thermal paste comments on that R9 390X video, but it's all good. It wasn't a lot of thermal paste, fam. It wasn't a lot. It achieved the purpose of that story, right? We lowered temps, and the graphics card was running absolutely positively fine. And Your Highness says, I say this because I have the money now and can't upgrade properly. Next month, I might not. So, Your Highness, really fast. I hope you're still with us. Your Highness, tell us, remind me again what graphics card you're using. I can't remember if it's the GTX 1070 or not. But tell me what graphics card you're using right now. Wanting to upgrade can be a double-edged sword, because we talk about not entertaining the scalpers. So it's like, well, if I'm not going to entertain the scalpers, how else or where else can I get a decent graphics card, especially if you want to upgrade? To heck with, like, I'm just building for the first time. Let's say you want to upgrade. Let's say you want to upgrade your graphics card. It's like, what possible direction could you go on? If you have anything less than a GTX 1080 Ti, you may not even need to upgrade. If you're rocking a GTX 1080 Ti, still very much a capable graphics card, I would honestly recommend you wait until graphics card prices subside and things resort back to normal. I lived through the last GPU apocalypse. Most of you were right here on this channel, as best to my knowledge, during those times. And I had the 1080 Ti's, and we could have sold them then, fam. But I'm like, it's probably best to just hold on to them and wait for everything to kind of, settle down. And eventually they did. It will take time. Nobody has a window on it. My best guess would probably be worst case scenario, middle 2020, 2022. Best case scenario, Q3 2021, somewhere towards the later end of this year. You probably won't see GPU stock, materialize, if you will, quite literally. But we do know there are more countries opening up their vaccination processes, so we could see more hands on the assembly line. But that still very much remains to be seen. One key thing I would say to look out is that by the time these graphics cards even materialize and become in stock, we very much could be on the precipice, if you will, of RTX 40 series graphics cards or RTX 30 Super series graphics cards. They're coming, and it would likely be somewhere around that, announced or revealed in August, September, for like a September, November launch, just like with the RTX 30 series. You would imagine if they could, if NVIDIA, if those GDDR5 memory chips are manufactured right at a quicker rate, and we're able to get graphics cards off of the assembly line and into retailers, you could see prices coming down. I think quicker it would stabilize on the used market first before the new market. Triceon says, I love. Let me go back up a little bit. Sorry, folks. I do want to welcome, if you're just now joining us, we are discussing some of the ways to maintain your gaming PC or maintain your setup, even if you haven't built your setup yet, or you're preparing to build your setup, or maybe you're like Your Highness here and you're looking to upgrade. We're just running through the chat really fast and answering any questions before we dive into the conversation, right? And if you can't hang around, I do want to welcome you to watch the latest video I dropped on Monday. That video was an absolute blast to just edit and produce. I may be a tech content creator, but I do love film and I love telling stories and things like that. But most importantly, I love the editing process. But, at any time you need to dip out and bounce out, I do welcome you to watch our most recent upload. It's the RTX, the long-awaited 6 months later review of the RTX 3090. That video was a blast. I do welcome you to watch it from the beginning, middle, and end. It was an absolute blast to produce, and it packaged really well. I normally only rewatch the videos on in the editing program, and I still find myself just going back and just watching all the way through as if that wasn't me in the video and I didn't produce the content. But still very good stuff there. Again, if you are unable to hang out for the full live show, head down in the basement and check out that link at any time. And Triceon says, I love RGB mouse pads, but unfortunately it needs a cable. Yeah, and the cable can be a little bit burdensome and get in the way. That's my one downside. But depending on your table setup, there may be ways to mitigate that. But any cords can just be a pain in the butt to deal with. And definitely. But yeah, RGB mouse pads are awesome. It's like the little things. If you got 30 or 40 bucks, you'd be surprised how it could just dramatically improve your system and just improve your setup. Or RGB in general can drastically improve your setup. And if you don't like RGB, that's fine. Like, shout out to the static builds, if you will, like the monochromatic black and gray builds. Those are awesome too, or the black and gold builds. All right. Planks PK, it's good to see you, Planks. Planks PK, it's good to see you for another weekly live show. And Planks says, video idea, the best $350 GPU. Well, the problem is there is no best $350 GPUs right now. Like right now, you can't find a $350 GPU at new prices anyway, right? Now, in my opinion, the best $350 GPU would likely be the GTX 1060 right now. That's if you're willing to take a chance on the used market and take advantage of that used price to performance. What I would recommend, right, at $350, just to say hypothetically, would be the GTX 1060, right? Last time we checked the Steam survey, maybe we'll check it here once we head over and start and really kick things off. But maybe we'll check the Steam survey, because last time we checked the Steam survey, the GTX 1060 was the popular choice among users who have opted in for the Steam survey. That's saying a lot, but the GTX 1060, I'm not surprised that it's matured as well as it has, especially since the last time I saw numbers on it. But I've been trying to get my hands on it because I also want to do a overclocking masterclass, or at least show you how to do it. And I want to do it on a Pascal based graphics card, because it's one of the GPUs that are more commonly available, or that can more commonly be found. Overclocking AMD cards, especially Polaris based 500 and 400 series cards, you normally at most maybe get 20-30 megahertz, and it's not worth the headache of trial and error, or trying to troubleshoot the overclock, or test it in multiple programs. And it wouldn't be worth the trade-off of heat and power and electricity and what have you, or that is power. But yeah, I mean, the video idea, the best $350 GPU, it'd have to be used, because right now there is no $350 brand new GPU that we can even call the best. I want the 1650 Super. Just last year, I did a review on the GTX 1650 Super, and that graphics card was under $200. You're not going to find that now, and that was brand new. And I think at least at that time in 2020, that was a good graphics card price, or good graphics card category in terms of cost for the 1650 Super, because it's a fantastic 1080p like medium settings graphics card. You can play a lot of different games. I have it sitting right here in this box. I have it sitting right here in this box, right? The 1650 Super. And I haven't touched it since that video. But I can tell you now, the 1650 Super is a phenomenal graphics card if it was available right now at its MSRP, even if it was $269. But the problem is, when I did the under $900 gaming PC in 2021, that was with a 1660 Ti, and beat we had just beat the techdemic. It was upon us. It just hadn't slowly caught up to, in my area. We could still very much go to local retailers like Best Buy and the micro centers here. And I live in a tri-state area of Maryland and PA and Delaware. But, in that area, we could still very much find them in retailers. You couldn't find them online, but we could walk into a brick and mortar store and pick it up. But now you can't. And the 1660 Ti's MSRP was $269, but we paid $329 for I believe it was the ASUS Tough or the Gigabyte variant. We paid a little over MSRP for that, about $30 to $40 more. But the 1660 Ti would almost certainly fit that $350 category if it was, available. Thunder says, like a IP grabber, that's what they are. They're talking about hackers. Yeah, I mean they're after. I mean, they want to take your IP address. It more so what they want is access to your YouTube account, right? There's been instances where they've hijacked and held ransom YouTube creators' channels. That's got to be scary stuff, fam. Like, I make sure I try to do my due diligence. Use a VPN, right? Use a VPN. I have emails that are public and emails that are private, emails that have a purpose, right? It's just about trying to do the best you can to keeping your information safe. And Bad Habit, I see Bad Habit. It's good to see you, Bad Habit. I believe Bad Habit, if you still help me log my memory, Bad Habit, as I get caught up. I believe it was you that was looking to sell a GTX 1070. Let me know. Might be interested if you still have it. If that was even still you, my bad. I'm trying. There's so many that are so awesome I talk to on a daily basis. Trying to keep up with it. Again, this is why the community Discord is going to launch. There's going to be reasons for that. So remember, if you're not signed up for the email list, do get signed up. If you weren't here for the house cleaning, the Discord, the members only Discord, is community only Discord, will be launching before the end of this month or near the end of this month, and invitees will go out to email subscribers first. So if you're here and you have been on the fence, you're like, Lab, I don't want to join your email list. You haven't given me a valuable reason to want to join your email list. Hopefully to get on board of that, of joining our community Discord before it becomes put behind a paywall for memberships only, which will be about a month. I'll leave it open for about a month for dedicated members here in the community. But yeah, this is why I want to bring the community closer together through the Discord and also the Facebook group. Tech for Your Needs says, yes, I love this kind of topic, web security data. Yeah, it's such an underlooked conversation here in the tech community. Tech for Your Needs. It's good that, I did a video that ironically is only now picking up steam, and that's some best ways to protect your PC, or best ways to keep your PC protected from viruses. And that video I very much did in my early rookie stages, and I mean very early rookie stages. Some of the issues that plagued that video, or some production issues I had in that video, I'm not even going to share with you. I was able to produce it. It's still very much solid and valuable content, but that video is like taking off, and it's over 2,100 views, which when I first launched it, it was maybe 100, maybe 5-10 views here a day, but now it's getting about 30 to 50 views daily. And the conversation has becoming more, and it's popping up more and more frequently because it's not being talked about enough. And people want to make sure that they're keeping their data, right? They're keeping their information. They're keeping their precious information secure and away from the prying hands of scalpers and hackers, because it hurts to have money, to lose anything. Or, if you're an adult here and the importance of privacy, depending on where you are, then that here, with all our information being online, it's just as important to make sure that you're keeping, especially if you do any form of business, or maybe you manage your finances on your computer, it's especially important to keep it safe and protected, right? And Bad Habit says, good afternoon, everyone. Daylight savings time messing with my timing. It's 6 p.m. and I thought it was 3 p.m. It's all good, Bad Habit. It's good to see you. Welcome to the show, Bad Habit. Your Highness says my stimulus check is ready for Nvidia RTX 3080 now, and that's awesome. Hey, you know what? That's the purpose of if you're here in states bound, and you know that Congress and our president signed the I believe it's the American Rescue Plan Act. I believe it is signed the American Rescue Plan Act, and to put money in the hands of businesses and tax-paying citizens. And so that's awesome. And that's the idea. It's meant to boost the economy, right? It's meant to stimulate the economy to put money in the hands of those to then take that and use it as a means of disposable income. Now, the problem with that now is that there are no RTX 3080s to be found unless you're willing to pay, 40 to 50% marked up. And I highly recommend, again, I'm not here to tell you, friends and fam, what you should do with your money. I just highly recommend you don't entertain the scalpers. Like, don't continue to think that what they're doing is okay. You remember just about 6 months ago, the Ryzen 5000 series was suffering through the techdemic as well, where we were seeing Ryzen 5600Xs and 5800Xs for like $1,100 and 5600Xs for like $500. It was there, and I did a video on it, the Army of Scalpers video. You can find it in the most recent playlist. I did a video on it, and you'll see the prices of what they were just 6 months ago. And guess what? Friends and fam, those prices have come down. You still cannot find the 16 core 32 thread 5950X, right, the Zen 3 CPU, or the 12 core 24 thread Zen 3 CPU, the 5900X. You still can't find those CPUs, but arguably 2021's top end gaming chip right now is the 5800X, especially if you plan on playing heavily multi-threaded games like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. If you want to give Cyberpunk 2077 a go, I do want to note, according to CDPR, the game is both very much GPU intensive and CPU intensive, but take that with a grain of salt, right, folks? I understand when they tell you it's hard to take CDPR's word at anything here, just with everything that's come down to light. And what they've done is just not okay for a brand to conduct to conduct business like that, and to not be transparent with their audience or their, the consumers, right? But again, Bad Habit, is good to see you. Your Highness says that, my ready for the RTX 3080. Hopefully again, the stock will materialize. And Tech for Your Needs says Hunter Green is my favorite color. Yeah, man, I love me some Hunter Green, and I take my word back. I like the color green because I'm big time Ninja Turtle nerd and fan, and I don't know, it just goes good. When I do a water cooling setup, which it is coming, there's so much content planned for the 2021. So again, if you're new here, I do welcome you to like the stream if you haven't yet, and subscribe with the notification bell on if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the community. Hopefully during this live show I will be able to earn your subscription, earn your email subscription, just earn your presence here as a member of this community. But green's one of my favorite colors. I also like the color black, but green is one of my favorite colors. Let me hurry up and get quickly, because I'm so behind on the chat. Champion Mode says, I'll say I've learned a few things from you. I definitely appreciate it. Hey, that's one of my main goals overall. It's just to help share and present as much knowledge that I've occurred up to this point, and information that I continue to learn and continue to get the means to produce content, from overclocking to building to maintaining your gaming PC, and why it is important. I know we all live busy lives, and heck, if you got a gaming PC, chances are you have also a full-time job or some form of a full-time obligation, rather that be you might be a parent, or you may be helping a relative out with virtual learning in your area, or you overall just don't have as much time, right? So my goal here is to help you save time and money on this expensive hobby, and of course share that information along the way. Thunder says that happens to be in Madden Mobile, but when I try to buy players with coins. Your Highness says that, you have a GTX 1080 Ti, and I would like to mine while gaming sometimes. Ethereum. Okay. Nice. Hey, again, Your Highness, you may want to consider holding on to that 1080 Ti for a while. Chances are what you could upgrade to right now at an affordable rate wouldn't be faster than your 1080 Ti, unless you'd be willing to sell your 1080 Ti which I know Champion Mode right here in the chat is the in the market for a 1080 Ti. So maybe that's something you guys can conduct, and I will vouch for Champion Mode. I do know him in person, so if you're interested in selling your 1080 Ti, Your Highness, consider reaching out to Champion Mode. But with taking that money you would make from your 1080 Ti, you could possibly take another $800-900 and really upgrade to a graphics card with 16 gigabytes or more of VRAM, or at least 12 gigabytes more of VRAM. Jard says, I sold my RX 570 for $200 last week. Nice. Yeah, I've been seeing them go for about $200, which isn't bad. I already did a video on an RX 570 in my rookie year. Excuse me, in my rookie year. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to revisit the topic. I had my hands on the trigger a couple of times. I said, you know what? Between an RX 570 and say a GTX 1650 Super, the 1650 Super is definitely slightly faster than an RX 570, but nonetheless a very good graphics card. And I see Jard says the market is insane. The market is an absolute mess, right? What do we call it? The let me run down my monikers for what's going on. It's the obvious tech demic, but what does that encompass, or what does that umbrella, right? You got the shortage supreme, right? The shortage supreme, the GPU anomaly, right? All of those things. The market is just really jacked right now, but it's a culmination of things with cryptocurrency going up and becoming more and more popular. So and just the demand is so high for cryptocurrency, but the demand for GPUs is so low. Or I'm sorry, that the supply of GPUs quite the opposite. The supplies of GPU are so low, right? But cryptocurrency just at an all-time is at an all-time high, right along with PC gaming. We also have the pandemic that's also ravishing the globe, that's tightening up supply. So, again, my best guesstimation is that we likely won't see stock materialize until 2022. That's my best. That's my best guess, is when we'll see a lot of games, a lot of new media is being pushed back to 2022 anyway. So I really feel like we would likely see RTX 40 series or RTX 30 Super series launched or announced. I hate saying launch because it's not a launch. Everything's on paper, but we'll likely see a RTX 30 Super series reveal some point in quarter 3. Well, RTX 40 series coming maybe at CES, should that be able to reconvene or happen, which I do don't quote me on this, but I do think CES is happening. Don't quote me on that. I will I will look it up and confirm that. And if there is, we possibly could very much do a video on it. But again, I'm almost caught up on the chat here. I see we had a few new people join in, and welcome to the Inside the Lab weekly live Q&A weekly live experience. I'm your conductor and operator of this here live show and live ride. If you have any questions along the way, I do answer them real time in the chat. This is meant to be a conversation, fam. This isn't just you coming on board and just watching me on your phone or your tablet or your monitor. This is meant to be a conversation. This is meant for me. I want to talk to you. I want it to feel like a live experience. And unfortunately, if you're on the replay and you say, well, Lab, that's all good and dandy, I don't want to watch your questions being answered, I still very much like to answer them, because you may not have had the inclination to ask that question, but hearing on a live show, you might say, oh, wow, well, I never thought of that. I'm glad somebody else asked it, although I was unable to be present for it. And if you watched up to this point anyway, I'm here to tell you, look, drop your questions down in the comment section. I check the comments, faithfully, the good and the bad, fam, because they definitely do come, but it's all love. And almost caught up on the chat here. Triceon says, sheesh. Nice. I wonder if you're talking about the selling the RX 570. Triceon's in the Netherlands, so he's not used to seeing as low prices that we are here stateside. And if you see Mrs. Mod is welcoming Jards. Awesome stuff. Yeah, Jards, welcome. Welcome again to the live show. And Bad Habit says, I was joking about selling the 1070. Okay. All good. I will pass it down to my daughter once I get my hands on a 6800 XT. Awesome stuff. She says she's using a GTX 570 super clock right now. That card is over 10 years old. Maybe I'll sell the 570 SC, the GTX 570 SC. Yeah, that'd be a heck of an upgrade. And Planks PK says, who is selling a GTX 1070? And if so, how much? I may be on the market of selling mine. I'll let you know. But again, I don't. I'm very uncomfortable with selling graphics cards right now in this current state. I really am, unless it was to fulfill a need for a client build. Bad Habit says, man, I'm already ready for another stimulus. Please make it 2,200 this time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would help and benefit a lot of people. I read a lot of articles that, unfortunately, a lot of Americans had to put their stimulus towards, their housing and securing food for their families. And my heart goes out to those people, to those men and women who had to do that. But, hey, but if the American government can, then they should. It's just point blank that clear. If they can, then they should. If they can help the American people, if they can help low income families, then they very much should. But hey, I'm sure $2,200 will help a lot of people. Bad Habit says also plans to PK. Give me $1,000 for it, and it's all yours. Wow, ouch for it to an ATI. I paid it for the ASUS ROG Strix to ATI. I paid, I believe it was over $1,000 for it. That was about 2 years ago. And Jared says the 5800X is awesome with PBO2. PBO2 is Performance Boost Overdrive 2, the second variation of it, which will automatically boost the cores up to its highest possible frequency. And PBO2 has done amazing things for the 5000 series, almost making manually overclocking a thing of the past, at least on Ryzen 5000. But hey, that's something I want to plan on because I do want to get my hands on a 5800X. Plains PK says 1,000 with the surprise. I believe that's surprise emoji. I'm very bad at reading emoji faces, fam. And Trisound said that's a good deal with the side eye. Plank says if you guys have good GPUs you are willing to sell, tell me. All right, that's good to know. Hey, Planks PK. Planks PK, I'm not sure if you're following me on Twitter, which I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if you follow me on Twitter. But you follow me on Twitter. Hey, follow me on Twitter. Anybody. Hey, if you're not following me on Twitter yet, follow me on Twitter at Inside the Lab YT. Shameless plug over. Same for Instagram. I want to grow their Instagram here as much as possible. But that's awesome. And you know what? That's one area that the Facebook group and even Discord group will specialize in. That is being able for us to sell hardware amongst each other, with I myself kind of acting as the mitigating party to make sure all transactions go over as smooth as possible. Again, that's on the Facebook group and the Discord, should you not want to join the Discord and maybe you use Facebook more than you use Twitter. But yeah, Plains PK, just to stay in it now, make sure you're following along the community over there. Triceon says, I would have ordered something if 3070s were in stock, bro. Yeah, and that's Triceon talking to Plains PK, and I feel you. I mean, the RTX 3070, if you could find it. I'm not even going to tell you what the MSRP. I tweeted out a couple days ago. I can't even remember what MSRP is anymore. I just can't. It doesn't even matter because once these graphics cards, once they launch, you're not going to find them. You're not going to find them at the MSRP. Like, it's just, I did a community tab poll, right? Asked what are my chances of getting a 6700 XT, and I gave up about midnight once I saw they were already being listed on eBay and everywhere else. So yeah, it's very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. But yeah, the RTX 3070, if you could imagine if they were available right now, especially with resizable bar technology, PCIe 4.0 resizable bar technology coming over to Intel's 11th generation CPUs, and NVIDIA eventually introducing it to the RTX 30 series CPUs. Trisound says, is that a 100 picture frame from your 100 sub quote play button? Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if you guys can really see it, and I would take it off the wall, but I would have to kind of reach over and move the Rode mic there. But so the 100 subscribers milestone, I'm not a big milestone person, but because not a lot of creators make it to 100 subscribers, I really felt like once I made it to 100 subscribers was a big deal because so many fail before they even get to like 50 and 75, and it may not seem like a lot when you're looking at other creators with 1,000, and at one point 1,000 subscribers, I thought you were like the biggest thing on the planet. When I was that small. But I had 100 subscribers in November 13th, 2019. I just want to let you know the first video went live on this channel April 20th or April 27th. The channel was formed April 20th, but the first video went live April 27th. And a few months later, I hit 100 subscribers and really just took off from there. But it's not necessarily a play button, but TubeBuddy, who is not a sponsor of this channel in any way, shape, or form, or of our live shows, But I am an affiliate, so if you're a creator and you want to use a program or a browser-based extension to help manage your channel, I do welcome you to check out my affiliate link down in the description box below. But do hang out for the live show. Don't go just yet. But you can, or if you're interested in getting a similar milestone, Tricion, or any other creators, which I know Damien, which I see you, Damien, in the chat. It's good to see you, Damien. I know Damon's a creator. I know you use TubeBuddy, Damon, but Tricion, if you don't use TubeBuddy, it's totally free to sign up. It's even free to get the milestones. And you can get them for views and subscribers. To me, the biggest milestone I will celebrate, and we're going to do a giveaway. It's going to be dope, fam. And that's when we do 100 videos, because 100 videos is an even bigger milestone to achieve, right? Even bigger milestones. Subscribers you can't control. Subscribers come and go. But I'm going to tell you right now, I appreciate every single one of my subscribers here. I appreciate every single one of you. Those who have tapped that red subscribe button and notification bell and stuck around. But videos, that is the one constant that as a creator you control, right? You can create 5 videos in a year. You can create 10 videos in a year. You can create 1 video a month if that's, how your time, that's all the time you have. And that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of creators that do that, 12 videos a year. But, you know, videos published is a milestone. Once I hit 100, that's another plaque I do plan on printing out. But I printed out the milestones that were super important. So thanks for the question, Tricion, as that's really close and really personal to my heart, because this channel formed in 2019, started at a whole goose egg. I talk about it a lot, but this channel started at a whole goose egg, and we're some 2,400 plus strong. And yeah, if you're here on the live show and you just joined us, I welcome you to, 1, give the stream a like, and 2, definitely subscribe, to the channel if you haven't yet. Hopefully this live stream I will earn your subscription. Planks PK says the only, whoa, the chat jumped on me again. Let me see if I can. Planks PK says the only thing I need to finish my PC is a GPU, and I need it for school and games. Okay, well, again, hey, Planks PK, I'm not sure how much you have, but if you need a quick solution, consider eBay. I myself can confirm GTX 1060s are selling for under $350. GTX 1070s is a little higher than I would, say even when I paid for mine. GTX 1070s going for a little over $400, but the very much capable graphics cards to hold you over until this techdemic ends, which it sounds like a long time from now. But what, 7-8 months? Worst case scenario, best case, worst case scenario, we could start to see better stock materialize somewhere in that time span or in that time frame. But it's really, don't get me to lying, right? That's an old saying, say, hey, don't take that at face value. It's just it's an optimistic outlook, and that's just hopefully that countries are going to be able to get the fabrication process picked up with TSMC. That's the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company, one of the biggest ones, and that's who makes the chips for these hardware. And hopefully once TSMC is able to open back up, then we'll see supply improve. But anybody's guess as to when that can be remains to be seen. Tricion says, that's why I can't sell my GPU either. Need my PC for school, and I can't wait months for a new GPU to arrive. Yeah, I mean, there's a boatload of GTUs, of GT 710s and 730s that you can use for just, passive digital out. But let's face it, it'd be counterproductive, which, like for your example, T, to sell your RTX 2070 Super, I believe you say you have, to go use a GT 710 just to make money off it. Like, it's better to just hold on to your 2070 Super so that you very much can still play games, which is 2070 Super is a fantastic graphics card, which is like faster than RTX 2080, right? The Mrs. Zombified, it's good to see you, TMZ. It's good to see you, TMZ. TMZ says, what's up, everyone? I'm running late. No, man, you're never late. You're right on time. You're right on time. Right on time. Mrs. Zombified saying hello to everybody. And Planks PK says, by the way, I'm not posting on YouTube because I'm streaming 2 times a day on Twitch. Awesome. Yeah, again, our Twitch is going to, I have some plans for the Twitch in the second part of 2021. So do keep a lookout for that. There is a Twitch. We do got a couple followers, a little call following over there. I do owe you guys a dedicated informal live stream. But again, my core focus is you guys and gals right here on YouTube. Damon says TubeBuddy helps, just another tool in the box. Yeah, I mean, TubeBuddy, it's a great tool. It's free to use. Free is my favorite price. And even then, if you wanted to unlock more features. Again, TubeBuddy does not, they're not sponsors of this channel and they're not sponsors of this live show, but I am an affiliate. But the app is totally free to use. It's totally safe. I wouldn't recommend it to you if I didn't think otherwise. There are so many different large YouTubers that also use it as well that you'd be surprised, but it is a great way to help you manage your channel. I can't promise you subscribers and views or what have you with TubeBuddy. One thing I can guarantee it will help you do is manage your channel. It will help you manage your channel. It will help you find, to some extent, it will help you speak the language your targeted audience is speaking. I will say that, but is it a tool to help you get subscribers? Not in my opinion. It's not what I'm gonna tell you. Is it a tool to help you manage your channel? Absolutely, absolutely. Best way, what's the best way to get subscribers? Make content. I don't know. Make content that resonates and connects with people. Trisound says, yeah, I'm signed up on it, but since I kind of stopped with content creation, I don't use it anymore. All right, well, yeah, hey, listen, that's all good. We love, consider coming back to content creation, Trisound. I know you were making music, which is still very much a form of content, right? So, not sure if you maybe would res your music channel, but awesome stuff either way. Planks PK says, but will a GTX 1060 be a bottleneck for the Core i7 9700K? No, I don't think it will. No, 8th generation Coffee Lake, 9th generation, very similar architectures, very similar nodes, right? And it's not that much faster than an 8700K, and an 8700K wouldn't bottleneck a GTX 1060. That's even at 1080p. No. No, and even with, you have to understand with the term bottleneck, and that is a whole nother live show or a live topic, a live conversation within itself, because you have to understand there are some instances where you can have a positive bottleneck. Depending on the game you're playing, you could even possibly see a bottleneck on GTA 5 at 1080p because it's such a CPU intensive game. There's so much complicated math and geometry being calculated underneath of the CPU die. So you would see a higher CPU usage would be totally normal in that case. But a complete GPU bottleneck to where it's limiting your frame rate output, absolutely positively not. The GTX 1060 very much still a fast. If you understand how GPUs are bend, the GTX 1060 is essentially a GTX 1070 that underperformed, right? So they put less VRAM inside of it and, charge you less than a GTX 1070. Again, a GTX 1070 is a underperforming GTX 1080. It's a slightly lower bend GTX 1080. And that's essentially how GPUs are made, folks. If you understand silicone, the best of the silicone goes to the higher end performing parts, right? Let's use NVIDIA, for example. So if it's the higher performance silicone will go towards RTX 3090s, right? If it can't perform fast enough for an RTX 3090, then it will become an RTX 3080 with less VRAM to compensate for its price. And that's essentially what it is, folks, right? They're just failed GPU dies that weren't fast enough to, pass certain manufacturer tests. So a GTX 1060 is essentially a GTX 1070 that couldn't be. And there certainly wouldn't be a bottleneck with a 9700K. Damien says, who streams on Twitch? Where they at? I stream on Twitch, or I did stream on Twitch. My first ever live stream actually wasn't even here on YouTube. Tricia was there for it. I streamed Fortnite. I streamed Fortnite. It was fun times. I'm going to go back to streaming on Twitch. I promise we will. But I do stream on Twitch, and it's at Inside the Lab Stream. So if you're interested in that, give that a look-see over, right? And Tricia says, well, I've scheduled an upload at 0000 for me, so about 25 minutes. But that's just a one-time thing. All right. Well, I understand. Listen, creating content, whether you do it all the way through, if I'm understanding your comment, or you stop and you come back to it, just the flexibility of being able to do it is just awesome from a perspective of a creator, right? And Trisound says, yeah, that was a great stream. Man, that stream was legit, fam. Rugged AF, man. That stream was rugged, fam. It was rugged. It was rugged, but nonetheless, it was good. It was a learning experience. A lot of things, a lot of technical issues that I had. I'm glad, and I remember you were there, helped me with the audio. I had an audio issue. You called it out. But still, hey, you live and you learn. And your best experience is just to jump off the diving board, man, and get your face wet. If that analogy makes sense. But I tell you what, with all that aside, let's jump into the conversation. You may mini rant may come across if we jump into it, but yeah, the RX 700 XT, another paper launch. I tried getting one. My efforts were futile very early on, so I didn't pursue it too heavy. But from what I see, it's slightly faster than an RTX 3060 Ti, but not faster than an RTX 3070. So it's in a weird. The 6700 XT is in a weird position, even with its 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. But at MSRP, it could be a fantastic buy, but they all are non-existent again, off the shelf. But I tell you what, the topic of this live show, the topic of this weekly live Q&A is maintaining your setup, right? And that extends beyond just your computer, right? That's your monitor. That's all things apply, right? Not to switch back to my mug there, but that's all things applied. So to kick things off with the first question, or the first, I guess if you will, key topic on the subject, and that is, maintaining your setup. And overall, why is it even important, right? Like, why would you think maintaining your setup is even important? Well, there are a few reasons why, it is. And we're going to talk about that during this live show. And again, if you have any experiences, maybe you've experienced hardware failures for a lack of maintenance, and maybe you want to share them with the community. Share your victories, share your losses. You got to take the good with the bad, right? We did a whole conversation on that too. Damien says, I found your stream. Nice. Yeah, I believe you. Oh, okay. I believe you're referring to the Twitch stream. Yeah, we were playing Fortnite, and I believe I had met you there too. And I actually I met you on Twitter. And ironically, it's like the internet could be such a big little place, because I believe I had saw your profile, on like another Twitter account. Might have even been vidIQ. Another awesome Chrome extension tool you could use. I don't have any vidIQ shirts. I gotta reach out to Rob Wilson. Rob, or if you know Rob and you're watching, tell it's a vidIQ. Send me some swag, man. Send me some merch. I love to wear it during a live show. But yeah, awesome people nonetheless. And I have found, and I saw you were you were close by, and you were from my neck of the woods, and I thought that was awesome. I was like, oh wow, another local creator. And this was before, CV, what have you, and people didn't have to stay separated from one another. And I know we got to get that adventure collab going, right? Because I'm not a big outdoorsman. I don't go hiking, but that don't mean I wouldn't, right? Like, I'll go on a hike. Let's do it. I'm just not a big fan of the water. You won't catch me out in the water, fam. But hey, listen, I'll go on a hike. But yeah. So maintaining your setup, and why is it important? Well, one of the key reasons why maintaining your setup is important is that it helps keeping your parts, right? Your components. It helps keep your parts running for a long time. Now, I'm a big advocate of taking care of the things that you really love if you really want them to last. And with PC parts, they can actually outlive their lifespan, because all forms of, I guess, anything manufactured, especially by human hands, and especially in electronic, anything that requires electricity, right? They all have manufacturer targeted lifespans. They know how long or how many miles you can get out of that electronic device before you have to, say, invest in a new one. You best believe they plan their product launches in between those dates, right? This is why you get annual cell phone releases. In most cases, you get consoles every 7 years, although Pro and Deluxe models are released biannually, I guess you could say, every 2 years. Trisound says, do you know what that SSD on that Lian Li case is? It's the T-Force. It's a T-Force SSD. I'll drop you a link over on Twitter. But it's the T-Force. I forgot the complete name of it, but I do know T-Force makes the RGB SSDs, but it's the ones that Jay's 2 Cents did a video, or a few other larger tech tubers did a video on quite a while back, where they supposedly, or due to the way the microcode works with the RGB lighting, it makes the SSDs run a little hotter than you would probably want your SSD to run, especially if it is the your sole drive, especially with like your Windows and you play games, which would also continue to generate heat. Damien says, take care of the things that take care of you. I mean, that is very, hey, I couldn't say it any better than myself. Does your computer take care of you? Does it fulfill like Tricion and I believe it was Planks PK? They're students. They're young students in the game, right? They say, I need my PC for school. So it's best that your PC helps you with your academics, or Planks PK is looking to complete their build to use it for school. But Tricion uses his build for gaming. It serves a dual purpose for gaming and schoolwork, right? Now, with like Damien said, taking care of the things that take care of you, maintaining your setup is important because it serves as your entertainment hub. Maybe like Bad Habit may mention earlier, maybe you're a Bitcoin miner, and even if you're a Bitcoin miner, you best believe taking care of your hardware could literally cost you currency. It could cost you money, if you will. It can cost you lost production. So taking care of the things that take care of you. And my PC definitely takes care of me because it helps me create content. I edit my videos on it. I run the live shows on it right now until I hardware shift and make a few changes here in the lab after me and my family move. We're in the process of moving. Slow drip move, but it is happening. We're in the process of moving. We're in the process of buying our home. And so the structure will change. And it's just exciting times as I'll be switching over hardware. But you do want to essentially take care of the things that take care of you. Let your hardware live beyond their lifespan, right? The same thing could be applied to vehicles, to cars. If you have a vehicle, or if you have a driver, better say if you have a driver's license. We know Tricion doesn't have one, but he still drives. But shout out to Tricion. Shout out to Tricion. He told us a few live shows ago that he was driving or getting used to driving. But if you own a vehicle, then you definitely understand the importance of taking care of maintaining your vehicle. But like your computer, your vehicle is a machine, right? Your vehicle is a machine. Your vehicle could even possibly be a moneymaker for you, like your PC. Let's say you're a fellow content creator, or let's say you're a streamer. Even better, how important is it for you to make sure your system doesn't fail, say midstream? Let's say you're doing a charity, a donation, or an awareness stream. How important is it to you to ensure that your system is functioning at a high level, right? Without any issues. It's very important. It's why you want to take care of the things that take care of you. Right? If you're an Uber driver, if you're like an Uber Eats driver or an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, right? Your vehicle is super important to accomplishing the things you want to accomplish in life. Now, let's dumb it down a little bit because not everybody creates content. But let's say that is getting into PC gaming. Maybe that is what you want to accomplish, right? Remember we talked about no player in the wild? Don't let roadblocks prevent you from achieving that. Now, if you already have your setup, right, maintain your setup. Help your parts run the duration of their lifespan. As Tricion says, yeah, I think I've seen that video, but I forgot the name. Thanks. It's all good. I believe it is T-Force. Z-Fluent says, I'm back. Welcome back, T. Z. And Damon says, you can't buy time back. Damon's actually positively correct. It's one of the things I say too. Like, time is such an important commodity. It's such an important resource. Unlike money, you can make your money back. If you lose $500, maybe you can. It's gonna suck. Like, don't get me twisted. Raise your hand if you wanna. If you say, oh, I lose $500, hey, the heck with it. Like, I don't. That's no biggie. Losing $500 hurts. I hate losing $1. Let me keep it 100 with you. I hate you losing $1. So it doesn't matter what it is, 150. Losing money, you can always make it back. If I lost $50, I know I can make it back. I have resources, I have revenues. I can get that money back. But time, 20 hours, 10 hours, I can't get that back. I lost time in pursuit of an RS 6700 XT. All right, it took time away from like prepping for this live show. It took time away from, helping Mrs. Mod because we're married. So we share our family obligations and we share our family responsibilities as parents. But, it just took away from precious time that I was unable to get back, that money just can't buy back. So you best believe also maintaining your setup. Most importantly, your setup could also help you save time. It could help you save time. Because if you're a student or you're a content creator and a component fails on you, like your power supply fails on you, or your cooling, your cooler fails on you, God forbid it's an AIO, your cooler fails on you, or your motherboard won't turn on, your video card just, won't even, it just shows a black screen. If you don't have the means to make the repair yourself, it's like, what do? You're going to lose time. You're going to either lose time as a creator, which as a creator, time is money, right? Time is money. But you're going to lose time as a creator. You're going to lose time as a student. You're going to lose precious gaming time, which to some working, parents, hey, especially working parents, that is definitely a commodity, to be able to put aside time to enjoy this hobby. So time without your machine is time wasted, right? Trisound says, yeah. And Z-Fluent says, what if you have the worst CPU and the best GPU? Well, you haven't been paying attention to what I've been saying if you do. Because I highly recommend that you get the fastest CPU possible that your money could afford, and then your GPU. Because you want to kind of have a balance there, right? Like you want to have a balance as much as possible. Now, if your CPU is slower than your graphics card, or it can't keep up, and you do get the bottleneck, that infamous bottleneck buzzword that's often commonly not used correctly or used accurately, essentially what happens is that your GPU will render frames your CPU is not quite ready to process and send to your monitor. So you will, your frame rate will take a hit. Essentially, when you get a bottleneck, if you're able to see your numbers, you will see something to the extent of a really high CPU utilization and a really low GPU utilization. Now, a obvious bottleneck is 100% CPU utilization and like a 50 to 60% GPU utilization. And that's especially if all of your settings are turned up to the max, because that's one way you can get around not having a fast CPU but having a fast GPU. Z Fluent. Another way is upping your resolution. But the more load you can put on your graphics card, the better you will eliminate the chance of a bottleneck. If you find yourself with a system that you have the worst CPU but a good GPU, which worst could be totally subjective. An i3, a 10th generation i3 is a perfect CPU to have for gaming right now with its 4-core 8 threads, especially if you're looking for a CPU under $149. That necessarily wouldn't have been the case with, say, like a Skylake or what is that? The one under Skylake, Kaby Lake or above. So Skylake is 6th generation, Kaby Lake is 7th generation. That necessarily wouldn't have been the case with an i3 Kaby Lake or Kaby Lake or Skylake CPU. You will likely wouldn't have been in the i5 7500 or i5 like a 6600K. Damien says, I need all my monies. Bro, listen, fam. Who you telling, right? And Tricia says, I think my 3600X is kind of bottlenecking my RTX 2060 or 2070 Super. But usually my CPU utilization doesn't go over 60% and my GPU utilization. Come on, I thought I could talk. Let me switch back here. Using my GPU utilization is almost always at 100%. It depends on the game, though. And Tricion, that's very important that you mentioned, like you say, it depends on the game, because I mentioned that earlier. If the game is CPU intensive, you could very much see a higher CPU utilization. It could also very much, too, depend on what the graphics setting is in the game, as some graphics settings are meant to directly affect the graphics card and the VRAM allocation or it would affect the CPU's utilization. For example, any form of simulated based graphics setting will almost certainly put the CPU under a heavier load, even with your graphics at a lower setting. If your CPU has to work harder because it has to take account for a specific setting, right, a specific graphic setting, then you will still very much see you will see high CPU utilization, but depending on your resolution, a very much still high GPU utilization. And it's in my opinion, so long as your GPU should be the bottleneck. You want your GPU to have 100% utilization, all the time, as much as possible. Perhaps even at 1080p, depending on the game, how graphic intense the game is, right, and the resolution. But Z Fluent, again, one way to get around that is to say up your resolution. And upping your resolution will put a higher load on the GPU, right? It'll put more of a load on the GPU and less of a load on the CPU. Your CPU will still very much be a factor, but what your system is going to rely on to drive that resolution, to drive a higher resolution, would be your graphics card. Say going from 1920 by 1080 to a quad HD resolution 2560 by 1440p, which, since the buzz with all the manufacturers want to put out 1440p graphics cards, like the reviewers just did 1440p reviews on the RTX 3060 and the RTX 3060 Ti. Now they're saying, oh no, we got a new 1440p king, the RX 6700 XT, which on some instances 5 frames slower than the RTX 3060 and 3060 Ti. So again, it's in my opinion that it really boils down to your targeted resolution and frame rate and the type of games you play, right? Because that could very much be different for most of us here. The end game is quite naturally to have a high refresh rate, sure. Like, that's what we want. All of us, you want that as high as possible, right? The higher, the better for your experience, because remember, video games are just moving images that are just moving really fast, that it just gives you the illusion that the objects on the screen are moving, but they're just images that are being refreshed quickly across your screen. So the more images that you can have displayed across your screen, the smoother the input would be, right? Between, pressing a key or an action on your keyboard or your controller, then the system and the monitor registering that movement. So yeah, I mean, bottlenecking, that's a whole other conversation. That's one I definitely plan on demonstrating in a video on both Ryzen and also, believe it or not, with older hardware, because I still have my good old X58 motherboard lying around. And some of you longtime viewers have been asking for that, for more X58 content. Is it completely dead? Yes and no. But again, like all things on a used market, if you're able to find one at a reasonable price, consider making the jump. Consider making the leap, right? When all else fails. I picked up my X5675, the 6-core 12-thread Xeon CPU, for under $20. And last time I checked, it was still going under $20. But that, again, goes to why it's important to maintain your PC. Another benefit, or your hardware. Another benefit, like I believe it was Bad Habit who mention that they're interested in selling their GTX 1080 Ti. Right? So Bad Habit has done all the necessary things to ensure, to maintain their graphics card, that it puts it in a position that they could sell it somewhat 3 to 4 years after the 1080 Ti release. So there's still some value there that you can hand down to somebody else. But when you take care of the things that take care of you, when it's time to try to, if you're ready to upgrade, or most of the time, if you have a car, you want to trade it in, the better the condition of your vehicle, the higher the trade-in value, right? The same thing with PC parts. The better condition of the component, it just increases the likelihood of you being able to sell it, right? Especially when it's functioning as advertised. Now, also, it's important to maintain your PC. I keep saying PC, but it goes, as you'll learn throughout the duration of this live show, it extends beyond just maintaining your PC, but maintaining your setup, your whole setup overall. We're going over a few reasons why it's important as we dive into the conversation, if you're just now joining us. But it also reduces any chances or the likelihood of having to make costly repairs. And in some cases, you may confuse that, or that could come in the form of an upgrade. But if you have a 550 watt power supply, and it fails on you, and you say, yo, you know what? I might as well. My power supply died. It was only 550 watts. Yeah, I may not need anything more, but you know what? I might as well upgrade it now while my system is being gutted apart. Or if you're paying somebody to do it, and you say, you know what? I don't want to pay somebody twice. Hey, can you just upgrade my power supply unit? Is that a forced upgrade? Absolutely. Did you have intentions on upgrading from a 550 watt power supply unit to a 750 watt power supply unit? Although your expected system power draw doesn't exceed like 400 watts, it's not necessarily an upgrade. It's a costly repair. And power supply unit failures are almost one of the ones that could cause could extend beyond just ruining that component, right? It depends on what you're doing on your system. If your system if you're just on a desktop, or you're just browsing the internet and you're not doing anything that requires an extent and a lot of power to be drawn from your wall, then chances of failure at that time protects a lot of your other components. But if you're in a gaming session, or rendering a video out, working on a photo, and your power supply fails, there's a chance that either a power fluctuation or a power surge could damage other components that all of them are connected to your power supply unit. But it could affect it could affect your AIO, it could affect your graphics card. So making sure you maintain your setup, doing these things that we're going to go over during this live show, could help you reduce the likelihood of having to make a costly repair. Because yeah, you may want a higher rated power supply unit, but maybe at the time of failure you didn't need one. So it's important to maintain your setup and reduce the likelihood of having to force upgrade. Most of the time, you would want to upgrade your power supply unit if you're upgrading to, say, a dedicated video card that either requires more power pins or has a higher power draw, right? Or maybe your CPU has a higher power draw, right? And I see Damien says, I gotta head out. Have a great evening, peeps. Yeah, D, thanks for hanging out. And Triceon says, see you, man. Yeah, D, thanks for hanging out. And hey, be sure, D, on your way out, if you haven't yet, which I believe you did, because I did comment with you. I was gonna welcome you to watch the RTX 3090 review, but I know you already did. But again, D, appreciate you being here. But another reason why you want to maintain your setup, right? Keep your system running as healthy as possible, right? Because it does extend beyond just cleaning, right? It extends beyond just cleaning your PC, because there are ways to keep your PC running up to date and secure too, because that's important too, as Windows themselves releases security patches. So to help ensure your system is protected, it extends beyond just cleaning, right? One of the reasons why it's important to maintain, that word maintain is synonymous with clean, if you will. But you want to make sure that you are keeping your chipset drivers, your video drivers, along with Windows and your BIOS too, where you're comfortable. You want to make sure you're keeping all of those things. You want to make sure you're keeping all of those things updated. Your BIOS most BIOS upgrade microcode updates does come with, even at most times subtle, right? Even if it's subtle, does come with subtle performance upgrades. Sometimes also, especially on the Ryzen side, from a lot of different BIOS notes I've read on different B450 motherboards and B550 motherboards and X470 motherboards, a lot of times the microcode brings along improved memory support. So making sure your microcode is updated could also help explain maybe differences in performance that maybe you were getting higher frame rates in this game, but now 6 months later it feels like you're getting diminishing returns, or your performance has deteriorated and you haven't made any changes to your system and you're unsure as to why that is. Well, making sure your chipset drivers are important. Your chipset drivers are important because your chipset is a chip on the motherboard that communicates with your CPU and other components that are connected to the motherboard. And so it's important that you're keeping your chipset drivers updated to ensure that your CPU is also running the way it's designed or the way it's intended to, right? Because chipset driver updates does bring along improved AVX instructions, updates and improvements. So again, maintaining your setup extends beyond just cleaning. Making sure Windows is updated. Yes, Windows has gotten better. Absolutely. But it can be a pain in the butt. hands down. But making sure it's updated can help fix a lot of random crashes that say maybe you weren't experiencing in one of the core games you play. Let's say that's GTA 5. Normally I get a lot of questions about GTA 5. Maybe you're getting crashes, random crashes in GTA 5, and you say, well, you know what, Lab? I haven't checked video graphics drivers. How do I update my video graphics drivers? And I'm like, if you haven't updated them since you either received your graphics card or received your system, chances are there's been at least a few graphics card driver updates you would want to consider. Now, graphics card driver updates also can come with mature performance improvements, and you can almost always time graphics card driver updates along the lines of new video game releases, right? Like normally there are graphics driver updates that are released coincidentally with new games. That way, the graphics cards, old and new, are optimized for that game. Tracian says Windows updates helped because my PC to be in a B-side loop 2 days ago. Wow. Well, what was it? The feature update that caused it to do that, or was it just a standard security update? And how did you break the blue screen of death loop? Did you have to run command prompt? Did you have to go into the BIOS? Did you have to make any changes to get out of the loop? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Again, Windows, a lot of different kinks to work out. Absolutely, it's gotten better. It could have been a whole heck of a lot worse, but Windows has gotten better. But just making sure, at least in the case of Tricion, I see like Tricion says, well, I tried a lot of things, and if you're an experienced enthusiast, when it comes to trying to troubleshoot a problem, you have to start with changing one thing at a time to see what will net you different results, right? As I see Tricion says, yeah, safe mode didn't work, and there are a few things you could try to break the B side loop. I probably would have removed the CMOS battery and let the motherboard die out to reset it to its factory settings. Not sure how that would have helped with Windows, but it would have been a start, because reinstalling Windows is another headache, especially if you didn't back up your back up your content and back up your data. But Trisound says, but what I did was try to open the Windows logo as fast as I could, and I found that the file was causing it. It was the Riot Games anti-cheat built into the Windows kernel. Yeah, and be careful. A lot of anti-cheat bugs can spur random crashes. Just to be on the lookout. I've helped people with a lot of random crashes in Fort, and it almost always pointed to Fortnite's or Epic's anti-cheat system. Tristan says, I haven't played Valorant in a while, so the Riot Games anti-cheat wasn't updated. Yeah, see? So again, perfect example on why it's important to keep your all necessary updates with your system, because it can bring instability. It can cause system instability, spur of the moment, right? Like out of nowhere. Like Valorant could have been running fine 3-4 months ago, and then you're getting those random crashes out of nowhere. So that's awesome. I'm glad you was able to fix it. That's a pain in the butt, but it's one of the reasons why I love PC gaming, right? Let me switch back here because I love working with my hands. And so when I was younger, when I was younger, though, I worked with my hands. I built furniture and I repaired furniture. So I always loved working with my hands. And when I run into those issues, I don't mind it because I like troubleshooting. I like trying to fix, issues and just taking apart. And when I got back into PC gaming, my first system I took apart and reassembled like a month after getting it on December, because I had bought myself. I forgot what it was, but I made an upgrade on it. And I remember just taking it apart and putting it back together, just because I had enjoyed that part of it so much, so much. And Trisan says Battle Eye anti-cheat is way less intrusive than Riot Games anti-cheat, so it's probably what caused it. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, anti-cheat. I mean, it is what it is. I guess it just comes with the territory. But speaking of coming with the territory, it comes with the territory of being a PC gamer, having these issues. It's one thing console gamers have said, oh, well, that's why see you have that. This is why I don't want to game on PC. I just want to sit down and just play. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Valorant's available on consoles. Pretty sure it is, though. I'm pretty sure it's not a PC exclusive, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But it comes with the territory, and this is why most console gamers don't really want to even bother with PC games, with PC gaming as a platform. But again, the purpose of this community is to help try to kill as many of those negative misconceptions about it, because it may seem a whole lot of work at first, but the benefits well exceed the risk, right, or the headaches of having to troubleshoot those things. It just comes with the territory. And consoles, again, consoles have their purpose. Yes, absolutely, consoles have their purpose. That's why they have their purpose for people who don't want to troubleshoot that. But for us, PCs have a character because, well, they have these issues, and you feel so much more inclined, especially if it's a system you built, which I know Tricion. I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb and assume here. It's not good to assume, but I'm going to go on a limb and assume that you built your system. So when your system has an issue, troubleshooting it makes it so much more personal. When your hands are the only hands that have touched the hardware that's inside. Especially when it's a physical issue that you have to go into the system to fix, right? Maybe your fan failed, maybe your AIO failed, maybe your graphics card, maybe you need to clear CMOS, maybe your memory, maybe you're having a bad DIMM issue. When your hands touch it, it makes it that much more special. Trisound says, yeah, me too, man. Fixing problems can be so nice, albeit IRL in real life on my PC or in Minecraft. It's fun. Now it's not. Now it isn't on consoles. It's super competitive PC exclusive, but they might port it. Okay, so I definitely stand corrected. My apologies on that. I was wrong. It is a PC exclusive, but yeah, it just. And I know Minecraft is so problem solving focused. I respect Minecraft wholeheartedly. I'm not good. Like my memory is so like all over the place, but I can't remember recipe. I would have to play with like a super noob book, and every time I do play, I'm like asking my kids, how do I make a bow, or how do I make a bed, or what's a good place to build? And ironically, I prefer to play survival mode. Like the first time I fully played Minecraft, on the side note, I was like, you know what, this reminds me of like Oblivion. It reminds me of like a Skyrim like game, if you will, Elder Scrolls Skyrim like game, just with cubes, where at least in survival mode, and it even goes a bit further with its hunger mechanism and what you can do and what you can craft and what have you. But I totally respect Minecraft. My brain can't keep up with the endless recipes and everything else. But it is an awesome game, and maybe once I have more time, I would try to get into playing. But right now, we are still very much playing our Alien Isolation walkthrough, and I couldn't do our pop-up live stream this week. To give you a little bit of insight, there was a pop-up live stream scheduled this week. I did want to pop up and say what's up, but I had some other things I had to take care of, so do keep a lookout for that. It might even happen tomorrow, might happen Monday, you never know. But we were playing Alien Isolation, and right now I'm getting my gaming fix playing that, so I definitely want to get back to it. But Trisound says, yeah, well, Minecraft Vanilla isn't very special without mods, but with mods in survival, it's crazy how much things you can do with technology and stuff. You will encounter a lot of mechanical problems, as in machines not working. Yeah, like yeah. I mean, and I guess when your game is modded, you have that risk too of having issues. But again, with a lot of things, the good outweigh the bad, right? When it comes in terms, if you think about, well, I very much still want to run, mods, because it just improves the experience of the game. But jumping back into the topic, because again, like Damien said before he left, take care of the things that take care of you. So like Damien, like I'm sorry, like Trisound is saying, they really enjoy playing Minecraft. That's their joy, that's their jive, that's their game. So Trisound really likes playing Minecraft. Gaming, to most of us, anybody in the chat, if I'm wrong, please do let me know. But gaming to most of us is an outlet. Streaming and gaming is a creative outlet, if you will, because it takes personality, right? But gaming is an outlet, right? It helps us escape the realities of life, especially if you're a full-time working parent. You got bills, you got kids. I have kids. I got one that's out in the world. Then I have three younger ones here that are doing virtual learning. And if you're a parent with a child that's doing virtual learning, you know how up and down that's been. But I have three children that are doing virtual learning, and so gaming helps even myself get out and just escape the realities of life. This is why I am eager to do another pop-up live show, because not only am I able to I'm able to knock out two birds with one stone, if you will. One, I'm able to bring content to the channel, bring some PC gaming content to the channel, and I'm also able to game but one of my, if I'm not gaming, obviously I love spending time with my family, what have you. That's my key, my core. My family is my favorite thing. But, next down the line, aside, if it's not secure in the bag, it's definitely gaming, fam. So when I'm able to jump up on a live, I love going live. This is what I love creating content. I love going live and engaging and answering questions and being on the camera. I love those things. It's an outlet even for myself. So when I'm able to game and create content, I'm able to knock out two birds with one stone. As I see Bad Habit says gaming is a must for me. It's my television. Yeah, absolutely. Like I spend more time gaming than I do watching television, but I don't watch a lot of television. Like only when, me and Mrs. Mod we're maybe in our bedroom and we're down for the night and we're not in the lab or attending to our children. We might watch an occasional show, here or there. I mostly don't even do normal television. I just stream stuff from YouTube, right? Like I have a internet-based TV in our bedroom, so I would just, cast YouTube videos from my phone, and I like watching television in that form, but because I don't really watch conventional television. I just don't. Like I don't. I do like catching Family Guy, and let me just say this really fast because this does act as a Q&A, so it's not related to the topic, but here we are really fast. But some of my favorite shows I do like watching Bob's Burgers. I do like watching Family Guy. I do like watching American Dad. And for some reason, I'm a killer fan of shows like Snapped and like 48 Hours and Dateline. That's the kind of TV I watch. So very like old head like and old school like. But I very much give me a good old fashioned gaming session and a pop up live stream with you beautiful friends and fam here right here on YouTube. And I'd much rather do that than watch anything on TV. You better believe it, friends and fam. I'm telling you. Going live, I love going live. I can't stress that enough. I love going live. I love engaging and communicating with our community. I really do. Now, again, I also love video games. So being able to stream, doing the pop-up live shows and doing the pop-up live streams and gaming and streaming, it's just I'm in a state of mind that's just like up here, right? That I'm like here, I'm talking to the men and women in the community. We're answering questions. We're sharing victories. We're sharing losses. We're sharing all of those things, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And again, I welcome if you're just now joining us, we're talking about some ways you can maintain your PC. But if you're just now joining us, I welcome you to give the stream a like and subscribe if you're not yet subscribed to the community here. And if you can't hang around for the live show, I'm doing a little bit of promotion down in the description box, down in the basement. You can find the recent upload, the RTX 3090 6 months later review. If you haven't yet, which I know Tricion and Bad Habit and Damien, a lot of you already have, but if you're just now joining us and you're not quite sure, like, what the heck is even going on? The RTX 3090 review is one of my, I'm like really proud of that video. Like, I really am. So definitely give that a watch. But here in this live show for this weekly live Q&A experience, we are talking about maintaining your PC setup. Why is it important? And some, tips and advice you could employ as a strategy to help ensure that your components and to help ensure that all of your essentials are running and avoiding any costly upgrades, because let's face it, I'm a big stickler on having to make costly upgrades. I'm like, take care of the things that take care of you. Don't run through multiple keyboards, right? Like keep breaking keyboards. Like don't do it. If you can, take care of your components. Take care of, especially right now, right? One of the core topics is, especially right now, with the frustrations of being unable to upgrade your video card, you want to keep your components running as long as possible, because you're not quite sure if you would even be able to replace it, right? So that's what we're talking about in this live show. As Tricion says, the 3090 video is great, straight to the point. Yeah, I mean, the video, it's long, and I compared it to other, when I was doing research on the topic, I was comparing it to other review videos 6 months ago, because I wanted to kind of do it from the perspective of 6 months later, as the graphics card isn't available even at reference MSRP, which the ASUS ROG Strix RTX 3090 sells for $2,079 USD, but the reference RTX 3090 sells for $1,400 or $1,500. But you can't find that graphics card at either of those prices. In fact, I see the RTX 3090 for about the ASUS ROG Strix RTX 3090, or most add-in board partner RTX 3090 selling for over $2,000. So that hurts. So I didn't want to do it from the perspective of, oh, buy this graphics card. I'm reviewing it because I want you to buy this graphics card. Because from my opinion, and this could rub some creators the wrong way, but it is what it is. Because my opinion is that we're reviewing graphics cards that aren't available to consumers, and it's like, for what? Just for free advertising, free product placement for AMD, Nvidia? We can exclude Intel for once. Intel is just sitting back looking like, bruh, I I ain't got a hand in none of it, right? Like, for once, we ain't the victims. For once, we ain't fudge up and release and paper launch products at jacked up inflated prices. Right now, Intel is in the middle, on the cusp of releasing their I believe it's XE based GPUs. I saw the article last minute, so I can't really talk about it too much in this live show. Details are still pouring in about it, but perhaps we'll do a news-like vlog on the topic of Intel's graphics cards. But Intel right now is laid back in the cut and watching AMD and Nvidia, right? Like, become victimized. They're being victimized right now. Why? Because they are launching products that are not available to consumers. They're sending them out to tech reviewers, to larger tech tubers and what have you, and to publishers and to bloggers, and they're recommending this graphics card. They're calling it the 1440p King this, the 1080, high refresh rate King that, and it's just simply not available to anybody. So why are we even reviewing this product? Why are we giving free advertisement to AMD and Nvidia? For what? They release these graphics cards in a market that they know is unstable. So what is the point? What is the point? Why review 67? Why all these 6700 XT reviews? Are you curious to see how fast it runs? 5 to 10 frames more than an RTX 2060, just about, right? It's about 5 to 10% faster, somewhere along the lines up there at 1440p. But it's not that much faster than some of the other options that most of us would still very much likely go with if it was available. But the RX 6700 XT was probably the worst of all the launches, between the 6800, the 6900 XT back in December of 2020, 6800 XT back in September or November of 2020, RTX 30 series just along the way there. All the launches equated to paper launches. I lucked up on my RTX 3090 to keep it 100. I lucked up on it, but not everybody has those resources available. Okay, so it's like, why review I believe the MSRP on the 6700 XT is $579 or something like that. It don't matter, fam, because by the time I'm concerned, the 5700 XT is widely available. You could possibly be looking at 7700 XT or RDNA 3 graphics cards along the way, right? Now, still the graphics card to target, in my still very much honest opinion, is the unreleased 6600 XT or 6600. Now, what's the stock going to look like on that? You best believe the same for the 6700 XT. So your tech tubers, your favorite tech tubers, they're going to get their graphics cards. They're not going to keep it 100 like I will. I don't get my products sent to me from the manufacturers. I buy them. Right, so I'm able to give I'm not told what games to benchmark. I'm not told what topics to avoid, right, or what sensitive issues to just act like it's not there, right? I'm not bound to that restriction. But how dare AMD and Nvidia to continue to reveal graphics cards, launch them when there's just not enough supply to meet demand. And they themselves have no inclination to when there will be a balance. My best guess is likely 2022, right? That's when we would likely see stock improve in 2022. But again, I remember I told you guys, I'm not the best ranter. I can't rant. It's more of like a frustration, because I spend a lot of time too, though, scouring the used market, and I keep telling myself, hey, go live, bring the community along the process with you. Show them the process of you buying used parts and just reaching out and just trying to win bids. It's just really frustrating right now, given the GPU market. And I don't think Nvidia or AMD is in a position to reveal graphics cards that won't be available. They're more available to the tech tubers, right, than consumers. They go so fast. I did, like, the day of, around 10, 11 o'clock, I saw them on, Facebook Marketplace. I saw them on eBay for $1,100 and $1,200. I'm just like, wow. Is the 6700 XT a great graphics card? Absolutely. Is it a great graphics card at $1,200? Absolutely, positively not. Is it better than a 6900 XT? Absolutely positively not. Can you buy a 6900 XT? Absolutely positively not. How much does a 6900 XT go for? $1,000 MSRP. But you won't find a 6900 XT at MSRP, and they're even becoming rare and rarer to find, as most people who were even willing to pay scalpers have already bought up with limited supply that was already out. So, but again, back as I see, we have a few more people join us. Sorry, you might have came in the middle of me ranting, or I might have caused you to leave the live show. But again, it's really frustrating for gamers right now, especially because having a dedicated video card is such an integral part of having a memorable gaming experience, especially at a high refresh rate, high resolution, or anything targeting at 60 hertz refresh rate, or you want an experience that's 2x better than your console, or you want an experience that's better than your PS4 or your Xbox One, which even on a Ryzen 5 3400G and 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 CL16 RAM will provide you with that experience, right? Which will leave the way open for you to insert a graphics card in that $300 to $400 range. I say $300 to $400 because at least from my initial research, you won't really find anything under $300. That is the real struggle. I mean, at the lowest I'm seeing is maybe a 1050 Ti, which to pay anything over a 1050 Ti hurts, because I believe the 1050 Ti's MSRP at one point was like $129 or $149 for, I believe I had an MSI 1050 Ti. Man, I missed that graphics card. I wish I had it. I let it, we let it go in a system. And I tell you what, a little bit of history. If you go back and watch like my first or second, I believe it's my second or third video ever published here on the channel, that 1050 Ti makes an appearance as we use it in a build. But maintaining your setup, why is it important? Well, we went over a few reasons why, and if you haven't joined us, I'm gonna quickly recap why we said it's important to maintain your PC. One, it helps keep your parts running for a long time. Your PC hardware, though, they may seem like it may become obsolete fast. By obsolete, you may be enticed to upgrade to the latest and greatest, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that your parts are going to stop working, though. So you want your parts to last. I see GTX 760s, right? And I believe it was Bad Habit who said that their daughter's using a GTX 560, right? Like, that graphics card has been well maintained for it to last as long as it has. And even if it's maybe 30, 40 bucks, there may be some way Bad Habit could pass that value down to someone else. Just because Bad Habit or his daughter has did all they could to make sure that they are taking care of their system. They are doing some of the things we're going to dive in and talk about. But one of that was helping your PC parts run a long time, right? Damien, a member here in the community, said take care of the things that take care of you. Right? Point blank, plain and simple. If you're like me, I spend a lot of time on my PC. Rather that's creating content, researching content, managing the brand, the Inside the Lab brand, or just gaming. I spend a lot of time on my PC. My PC takes care of me just about as much as my car does. My PC takes care of me and the workflow. So I try to do my best to take care of my PC, to make sure that I dust it out, to get all those things, which we're going to talk about, but really fast. Another reason why maintaining your setup is important is that it reduces any likelihood or the chances of you to have to make costly repairs that may come off as an illusion that it's an upgrade. I use the 550 watt power supply as an example. You got a 550 watt power supply and it clunks out. You may think, oh, well, I'll just buy a 750 watt power supply. But ask yourself this, fam. Would you have upgraded that power supply if your 550 watt power supply unit didn't fail? If you say no, then that's a forced upgrade. It's not something you had in mind. Yeah, it's going to benefit you in the future, but do you absolutely positively need it to run the system? Like, you could have gotten away by just replacing a similar rated power supply unit. So again, it reduces any chances or your likelihood of having to undergo any costly repairs. And again, it extends beyond just cleaning, like we talked about, making sure, anti-cheats are updated, making sure your BIOS is updated if you're comfortable, which I do plan on doing a dedicated segment, a masterclass on updating your BIOS. You may seem like, well, it's a 5-10 minute process, but I tell you what, look, it's kind of like making sure if you really want to take full advantage of your system, like, really go in. You know what I mean? Go in, get your hands dirty, right? But there is some risk involved with updating your BIOS, so I don't recommend you do it unless you familiarize yourself with the process as much as possible. But again, I do plan on dropping some content to show you best practices on updating your BIOS and how to do it from start to finish, right? Triceon says, I absolutely positively agree with that. Yeah, Triceon, that's what it's all about. It's about connections and just, and just resonating. It's kind of like, yeah, if maintaining your system, just making sure you do these things that we're going to discuss further in the live show reduces the likelihood of having to make a forced upgrade. You know what I mean? So, and by all means, if you have the money to do so, a scheduled upgrade definitely different from a costly upgrade, right? That's one that's not scheduled. But again, the third thing you want to a third reason why it's important to maintain your setup though, and why it's important overall in general. I keep saying important so much, right? But one of the reasons why it's important is that again, it helps you ensure that your system is running as efficiently as possible, especially when you consider how thermal throttling can reduce performance, right? I remember in the community hit me in the DMs over on IG, and again, if you're not following me over on Instagram, definitely give me a follow on Instagram. Come on, fam, what are you waiting for? I follow all Land Fab back. That's at Inside the Lab YT. Shameless plug over because the name is the same on both games, right? On IG and Twitter, they're the same thing. But they showed me a clip of Need for Speed running, you know, at a frame rate that they should have been getting more frames. Is what a similar setup to the RTX 2080 that I have and an 8700K, and they were getting maybe about 10 to 15 frames less than I was even quite some time ago in that game. And once they shared a little bit more context, they showed me that their CPU was getting about 90 degrees C, which not great for your CPU. It could absolutely cause some thermal throttling. Your GPU could also thermal throttle too. So the hotter your GPU gets, it'll start to slow itself down. Now, at it at its core, if you understand how computer parts work, they have transistors underneath of the dies. Essentially, the GPU and the CPU has transistors underneath of the dies. Those transistors move back and forth at an accelerated pace, like lightning fast speeds. Their speed is measured in frequency, right? Clock speeds. So those transitions are moving as fast as possible, and then the faster they move, the more heat they're generating. So obviously, the faster the part, the more heat to compensate for the heat. If your system and your case can't compensate for the heat, then it'll start to slow down those transistors. They won't just move as fast. Now, what does that mean for your gaming performance, fam? Less frames. So that's the problem that person was running into, and I need to actually do a follow up to see how they were making out to make sure that they were able to, again, make that upgrade. Now I'm not quite sure what caused the issue, but some of the things we're going to talk about, which is a perfect segue into the next part of this conversation, and that is component killers and how to combat them. Right? That sounds scary, right? Component killers, like you a comp killers, right? And how to combat them. But no, seriously, I mean, heat is essentially your PC's worst friend, more than water. Like, obviously, water is any electronic's worst friend, especially when it's more so when it's on. Like your computer parts can get wet, right? So long as there's no electricity flowing through them, they can get wet. In order for them to turn back on, though, you do want them to completely dry and I'm talking like 48 hours completely dry. Depending on how wet they got or what was the liquid. Like, was it like an AIO? Was it, tap water? We're going to talk about all that more in this live show. But component killers and how to combat them. One of those component killers are heat. I mean, heat. This is why most overclockers overclock on water. Now, you saw in the RTX 3090 video, and I talked about it briefly in that video, that what was hampering that overclock was a combination of power draw and temperatures, more so temperatures, and that's because to present as a IRL like scenario for an overclocker, I did it with the window glass on, so the Cooler Master H500M I use for the core shredder build. That's the Threadripper 1920X build, and now RTX 3090. But I did the overclock with the glass panel on and the glass panel off. The glass panel off helped to some extent maintain the clock speed. For those of you who didn't watch that video, I'll kind of touch on it now a little bit. It helped maintain the clock speed, but the heat being generated and being unable to just efficiently move out of and away from the graphics card still very much caused it to slow down. Even with a 100% fan curve, it just wasn't enough to deal with the heat that was being generated around it. And so ambient temperatures plays a role in overclocking, and this is why, going on water is the better way to go if you're an enthusiast overclocker. Like, I consider myself an amateur enthusiast overclocker. I like overclocking, but overclocking on water is where it's at. Although I see bad habits as I will never water cool, just not my thing, and totally understandable. It's so much maintenance and work that goes into doing a water cool build. It's one of the reasons why I said I either don't want to do a water cool build series until I'm in until we move, because I didn't want to do it and have to take it apart and it just be a pain. And I said I'll just wait, because I do plan on expanding in size and getting a dedicated space for the lab. But yeah, it's not for everybody. It really isn't. And for most people, I wouldn't even recommend an AIO. For those of you who don't know, it's an all-in-one cooler. I wouldn't even recommend an AIO if you're not interested in doing, or even if you're not interested in like PBO2 or Intel's performance boost, or I forgot what Intel causes it, but AMD's is performance boost overdrive, but Intel also boosts their CPUs also boost their frequencies so long as there's temperature overhead. But yeah, I understand it's not for everybody, but I see Tricion says, I want to water cool so bad, but it's so expensive. Custom loops, at least. There's so much that goes into it. I'll be honest with you, I don't even think I'd want to bend tubes. And I know it's not, soft tubing or rigid tubing or soft tubing is frowned upon in the water cooling community, but I wouldn't even want to bend pipes. It's not my thing either. I'm not that good with my hands. I would almost go with soft tubing, but soft tubing is a popular, but I would like the soft tubing for flexibility. And to be honest with you, I kind of like the soft tubing more than rigid tubing. It just kind of gives it a more, fluid look, to where like rigid tube, it makes it feel like all, just hefty and just cumbersome, to where soft tubing is just loose and free flowing. But it is expensive as you consider the key parts. Let me switch back here really fast before we jump into the component killers. The key parts, what are we talking about here? You need a radiator, a pump. If you want to cool, let's say it's a full custom loop, so you got your CPU under a block and you got your GPU under a block. So you need a water block for your GPU, which run you, depending on what graphics card that is, might run you about $150 to $200. You need a CPU. You need a water block for your CPU. You need tubing. You need liquid. You need fluid. It definitely can run up to what equates to a quiet system and lower temperatures. You really have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Now, because generally the longer I stream and do longer gameplay streams, it does introduce more heat. And my CPU is water cooled, but my GPU is not. So it's one of the reasons why I've been exploring the idea, once I relocate, to go with a full loop. That way I can control the temperatures in the room, in the area, and then it doesn't get as hot. And I'm able to do like long-term streams, especially over on Twitch, once we kick those things up a little bit. And Tricion says, I don't mind bending the tubes, honestly, because the result looks good. Yeah, to each their own. My preference would probably be soft tubing. Bending tools is so time consuming. Jay and them, they make it look like, take it from me, from editing, they make it seem easy, but and like it's so fast, but it probably takes so much time. You really have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? And think about it. If one part goes wrong, right? Like, as most hard tubing runs underneath or around DDR4, your RAM, or let's say something happens where you need to service the motherboard, you have to, taking it apart could be a little harder, you know what I mean? And you also run the risk of bending, of shattering the tube. To each their own. I think soft tubing would make the maintenance easier, because there is way more maintenance with the water cool setup that you just can't ignore. That's almost a whole nother live stream topic, other than just running with a custom, say, an AIO, like TMZ, like Mrs. Diamondfire. I hope you don't mind I call you that, but like TMZ said, some air coolers are just as cool as some AIOs, and that's absolutely right. Some of my favorite ones are some of the Cooler Master air coolers, and the Hyper 212 Evo, the RGB one, is especially a smash hit. Sub $30 air cooler, right? That can get the job done, especially if you want to upgrade beyond AMD's stock coolers, which are fine, especially if you don't want to overclock. But if you want something a little bit more flashier than Intel stock cooler, which is definitely not all that great. So if you could just it's a $30 investment. Or if you're running an Intel SKU and it's like a K-based CPU, you may not want to overclock at the moment, but you also want to make sure your CPU can boost as high as possible. Consider like a $70 or $80 140, 120 millimeter AIO, right? Great to start out with. And Triceon says, yeah, that's true. I think you're referring to the maintenance. It's just like maintenance in a water cooler setup. You just can't ignore it. You have to drain the fluid. You have to clean the radiator. You got to clean the water block. Before I've showed any interest in creating content on YouTube, I watched a lot of Jay's 2 cents. He did a lot of water cooling content. At the time, I resonated with him. But it's like I'm like, this is a lot of maintenance for lower. You have to really be a water cooling enthusiast, because just taking apart the water block, taking apart the cooling, and think about it, that likely you wouldn't want to do that on your main system. You would likely want to have like a water cooling system and then like a backup or like a high-end laptop that could, serve as your daily driver while your water loop is being serviced, right? While you're taking care of your water loop, which still very much increases the chance of failure, right? But still, once it's together, though, I will say the results is exceptionally phenomenal. It's exquisite. It's a work of art. It's the personal computer with the water cooling loop. And if you have a lot of time in your hand and you say, hey, the maintenance is nothing, lab, I'll do the maintenance on the water cooling loop just to be able to have a water cooling loop, you might want to do it. And I see TMZ says, I'm digging my Noctua. Noctua makes great air coolers. And I'm glad they released the Black Stuff edition, because I couldn't get with the brown colors. But and Bad Habit says, my Prism Wraith is just fine. Love the Prism Wraith. Yeah, I love the Prism Wraith. My son uses the Prism Wraith on our family computer, our family unit with the 1600X. And it's a great looking cooler. I have no complaints on it, right? You can't really do much overclocking. And if your environment gets hot, like if you saw in the best gaming PC to build under $900, that video, I used the stock cooler with that 2600X, and while temperatures are perfectly fine, it was a little higher than I would personally like, and it was about in the 70s. But I tested it on this level here, and the long-term gaming sessions, and when you're benchmarking, if you know anything about benchmarking, it could go for hours. At least I like to make sure my benchmarking numbers are thorough. So I do 3 runs. A 3-run benchmark can like take me hours almost. But yeah. Triceon says, I'm out, y'all. It's getting late. Yeah, Triceon AT, I appreciate you hanging out. And I know you're over in Neverland, so I know it's getting late. And I tell you what, let's jump back in and talk about component killers. Because yeah, all those things play a role on the subject of coolers, because your CPU coolers, especially on the heat sinks, can accumulate dust. Now, dust next to heat is a super component killer, because almost, again, if you have a PC right now and you're willing to share it with us, if you have dust in it, I'm pretty sure the question could be very much yes. Snow White has dust in it. Though Snow White is due for dusting, but again, this area is not as large, and I do have pets. My cat, he knows how to open a door, so he's been coming into the lab, even though I shut it. Excuse me, he's been coming to the lab. But I do try my best to keep, pet hair and dandruffs away, because dust inside of your case and eventually the internals of your heat sinks, right, your components, or just overall hard to reach places and crevices, can disrupt airflow, accumulate, build up, and act as an insulator for the heat being generated by your PC, right? Remember we talked about, your graphics card builds up heat. So, if you have a dedicated graphics card by you, and I wish I had, one, I'm not quite sure if the 16, let me take this out. Bear with me for a second here, friends and fam. That's box. Let me see. So we have the 1650 Super here, and you see it has this heatsink right here, or it's kind of underneath the fans. And I guess I should switch back. So you have, to give the camera a second to autofocus, so you have the heatsink. Dust can get inside of there real easily and really build up. And so what would happen is the fans won't be able to push the heat off of the fins efficiently and quickly enough to lower the temperatures that we could either cause thermal throttling, or if it's an older GPU and it's not configured to slow itself down, it could even cause your GPU to burn up and die. It's very possible. It's very important you make sure your heat fins, that's your radiator here, and this doesn't have a beefy heat sink. I'd say that's maybe about 2.5, 3 inches thick, right? But it doesn't have a big heat sink. But it's important that you keep dust outside of these areas here. Now it can be it could be difficult to get inside there. So you would say, well, how the heck do I even clean in there, lab? Like, I'm afraid you just said don't ruin your graphics cards, right? Because you won't be able to find them right now. So it's like, well, what do you do? We're going to talk about that during this live show. But it wasn't planning to bust that open, and I do want to put it back. I'll tell you what, we'll put it back in the box after the show, because it's so important that you make sure dust doesn't accumulate around your heat sinks. This also is applicable to your CPU cooler. Let's say it's not an AIO. So we talked about all-in-one coolers as a liquid cooler solution. Let's say you're going with a air cooler, right? Dust can get underneath of the heatsink around the CPU socket quite quickly, quite easily. And it could also disrupt heat flow off of your CPU, which gets hotter under load, under a certain type of load. It gets hotter than your GPU. And even the same thing applies to your AIO at that point. You want to make sure dust doesn't build up on the radiator. If you're not sure how AIOs work, then the pump, right? You have the pump, which I don't have. Snow White I have a Corsair H100i V2 AIO, but you have your pump. So your pump is responsible for circulating the liquid, which isn't water. It's a special type of liquid, but it's responsible for circulating liquid off of the IHS, right, through one tube. The liquid goes through one tube to the radiator. The fans on the radiator blows the heat off of the radiator and cools the liquid as it goes around the radiator back down another tube, and it repeats that process. Now, if your radiator has dust built up, guess what it's unable to do? Push off the hot air, right? Exhaust that hot air off the fins array. So what'll happen is the liquid won't cool down, and you'll be warming your CPU up with warm liquid, with warm water, and that would be definitely detrimental to the life of your CPU, because that's one component, fam, you want to keep running as cool as possible. Bad Habit says, I have a custom free pack bay below my computer. It gets hot. I take a free pack and put it below the intake fan. Works wonders. Yeah, I mean, it's the subtle hacks like that. Much like when some of the tech tubers were doing their graphics card overclocking, and they were using chillers and dry ice and trying all small subtle hacks like that. Whoa, sorry. They were doing subtle hacks like that, and it does help, like, to inject cold air directly into it. I mean, cold air is a computer's best friend, but then condensation is not, right? Like, condensation buildup is not. So, but you're right. Yeah, it does work wonders. Awesome stuff. Bad Habit says, for the first time a month ago, I replaced the thermal paste on my 570. Nice. I need to get my hands on an old graphics card because I really want to redo it. I have to do an updated 2021 version on replacing thermal paste. I lucked up with that 390X because I bought it for, you guys and gals believe I bought that graphics card for $50. That R9 390X for $50. It's going for about $3 now, but I bought it for $50. And evidently it was a mining card. And it was mined to death on that thing. You go back and you watch that video, the story is true, man. I fired that thing up on a test bed at the time, which was the X58 test bed, and I loaded up heaven. Bam, it was like 75, 80, 85, 88, 90, 92, and just stood there, and it was down clocking all the way to like 900 megahertz just so the graphics card wouldn't kill itself. But fun times. And Bad Habit says, not sure if it was a good idea, but I experimented with it anyways. I mean, listen, it could be just, it's like changing your oil, right? It could be like changing your oil. Not everybody does it, when they're supposed to, but if you're either early on or you do it before, it just helps. So keeping the thermal paste fresh just ensures that, your graphics card is just running as cool as possible, and it's it's outputting the frames you expect it to. But replacing your thermal paste, it is risky. But hey, if you're comfortable with it, kudos to you, bro. Kudos to you, Bad Habit. His Bad Habit says it's still working fine. Yeah. Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. We had the air horn, would rock the air horn for Bad Habit, replacing the 570 on their or replacing the throughput pace on their 570. Either bam, 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 bam. My air horn's a little whack, right? It's probably a little whack. But on the subject of component killers, because yeah, dust and heat, dust that accumulates and builds on your AIO radiator or in your heat sinks for your graphics card, even in your power supply, dust in general is just bad. It's just bad. It's bad to have dust build up on around your PSU. It's bad to have dust built up around your fans, and cleaning your fans could be even more of a challenge because you don't want to, damage the bearings underneath the fans, or you're going to be up for a real annoying fan sound. And again, we're going to talk about some ways, and I'm going to show you some different tools you could use to help you with that, right? But again, heat and dust, component killers for sure. Normally they go hand in hand. Heat will kill your PC simply because of dust building up and acting like an insulator. So dust will act like an insulator, and it will essentially trap the heat in your system, allowing your fans to do jack diddly squat in terms of cooling your components, right? So again, we're going to share some ways on how you can clean those areas, because it's really difficult to clean. I've cleaned some systems, and even ones I've done videos on that came my way. And I tell you what, friends and fam, real quick before we jump into more component killers, watch the $25 PC video I did. It was my third video I showed up and performed in. I was a super rookie. The audio is horrible. I'm out of focus for most of it, but go back and watch how dirty that CPU is, or CPU is. The CPU is dirty, sure, but go back and watch how dirty that computer was. I don't think you probably have seen a dirtier computer. It was bad. It was bad, fam. It was bad. You can see me blowing. I'm using my blower. We're going to talk about blowers. I'm using my blower, and you see me blowing out all kinds of debris in that video, but definitely give it a watch. And now, speaking of videos, because again, we're talking about your whole entire setup, right? We're talking about maintaining your whole entire setup. So speaking of videos, we talked about the window into your monitor soul, or the window into your computer soul. I just dropped it out. That is your monitor, right? That is your monitor. Now, I've had a few questions in the DMs. People have asked, say, hey, what's the best way to clean my monitor? And I keep telling myself, dude, you got to do a video on this. Do a video on this. It's such a commonly asked question. So I do plan on doing a video, or maybe even a short, or maybe an Instagram reel. But what you want to use to clean your monitor is essentially distilled water, not tap water, but distilled water. And I wouldn't even recommend that you use alcohol or ammonia-based cleaners as well, because they can cause permanent damage. What you want to do is you want to use distilled water. Now, why distilled water? For those of you who don't know, really fast, distilled water doesn't have any minerals or nutrients inside of it. It's just plain old, flat water. So, and it doesn't have magnesium in it. Other things like tap water that may have microscopic microbes that could either scratch the surface of your monitor or just overall contaminate the surface, causing stains and blotches. So what you want to do is you want to use distilled water. And even when you do, you don't want to use a lot to clean your monitor. What you want to do is you want to use a microfiber cloth. Very important that you use a microfiber cloth. Why microfiber? Because microfiber cloths are really good for cleaning soft surfaces. You don't have to worry about scratching your surfaces. I have a microfiber cloth. Where is it? Where's it at? Okay. I had a microfiber cloth I use to clean my monitors that are around. And so what you want to do is use distilled water and just like turn the water upside down a couple times, get it not wet, but maybe just like damp enough that it'll air dry and that you can, wipe and dry at the same time. But what you want to do is you want to gently wipe the monitor to get rid of any dust and fingerprints, because dust may not kill your monitor, but fam, it could very much kill your experience. So this is why I say, hey, you want to make sure this maintaining your setup extends beyond just your gaming PC. So you want to make sure that your monitor, you're cleaning your monitor, you're keeping it free from dust. And so how do you do that? Maybe you have just miscellaneous stains or just anomalous blotches spread across. One thing you want to do is don't press on the screen while cleaning, right? If you can, I recommend cleaning while it's up vertical. Okay, you want to clean your monitor while it's up vertical. Don't do it while it's laying down. It's easier for you to apply downward pressure on there, and it's not going to, help your cleaning situation. So you want to use a microfiber cloth, stand your monitor up vertical. Also use distilled water. Now, a couple of links you'll be able to find down in the basement. Remember, we call it the basement in the description box. But a couple of links you can find down in the basement in the description box are all of these products and all of these tools that I will go over that you could help put in your arsenal that can help you make sure that you maintain your setup. Now, you say lab. I'm offended because what does my monitor have to do with making sure my gaming experience is not hindered or slowed down? Well, if you break your monitor while cleaning it, what is that a calculated upgrade or is that a forced upgrade? Even if you have a 1080p monitor and you were cleaning and you're like, oh, oops, or you use an alcohol or an ammonia based solvent and it caused your monitor to act sporadically, right? Or maybe not even power on. Maybe you damaged it beyond. Maybe it's foobarred, right? Lack of better words. Maybe it's foobarred, right? But that would have to force you to buy another monitor. So this is why it's important that you maintain it in a way that is affordable for you, that it helps you avoid any unnecessary costs, right? Component killers. Now, the component killer in this instance, I guess, would be, you know, the actual process of cleaning it or not having the proper tools to clean it. Not so much as just letting dust and just ignoring the process of making sure that it's free of dust. This could actually be an issue during the cleaning process. So again, this is why I recommend you use a microfiber cloth. Stand your monitor up. Use distilled water. I can't stress that enough. Use distilled water. Go to your grocery store. It doesn't cost any more or less than normal tap water, but you definitely want to use distilled water. And it's, in my honest opinion, you almost want to use distilled water to clean any of your PC parts that may be susceptible to rust. And that's like any metals, right? Any kind of metals. You can also use compressed air to clean your monitor if, like, there's a lot of surface dust. But we're going to talk about compressed air and electronic air. But another way that tool could be helpful or beneficial to your arsenal, and that is getting dust out of your keyboard, right? Like your keyboard. We have this keyboard here, which I keep telling I did a really cool reel on it. Which, shout out to you who were follow me on Instagram and you saw it. But I did a reel on it. It's still sitting in the box. I started to say, well, let's do a video on it, right? Like, let's do a video on it, unbox it, and set it up. But, getting inside your keyboard can be really difficult, especially if you have a mechanical keyboard and you don't want to damage the MX switches underneath, whether that's red or brown. You don't want to damage the keys either because you can pull them off quite easily. It doesn't take much effort for cleaning. You can pull them off, but it is easy. They don't have much lip. They don't have much lip on the plastic to prevent you like clipping it and it not resting on there completely. So you want to make sure you're really gentle with cleaning your keyboard and not using, like, say, a cloth or something to that extent, or just like brushing back and forth. It's easy to pop the keys off that way. One thing you could use, and also to not damage the RGB. We talked about RGB. You can't use any solvent with an RGB keyboard. Your best bet is to just use compressed air or an electronic blower, which is something we're going to talk about, right, in our tips and tools. But just keeping your keyboard free of dust. It goes back to what we talked about with your monitor, right? Excuse me, and that is avoiding any forced upgrades. You break your keyboard, fine. You say, you know what? I always wanted the new Cooler Master. I can't remember the name, but I wanted to get it and possibly do a giveaway. I'm not going to say it's out of the question. I'm very much so to say it's on the table. But if you damage your keyboard, if you break a key, you might say, I might be okay with it. But depending on what the key is, if it's like the A, the W, the S, or the D, the Control or Shift, or I, or E, or F, if it's like, come on, holla at me. If it's the keys that you need to press often, it could very much disrupt your gameplay experience or just your overall end experience on your computer. And it may force you to get another keyboard only because you weren't careful with cleaning your keyboard. Dust accumulates underneath your keyboard. So it's very important that you avoid damaging those keys, because essentially once you do that, some keyboard vendors. I believe it's like Corsair. Let me switch back here. Corsair, depending on the keyboard, will allow you up to, I believe, 2 key replacements for the lifetime of your keyboard. Don't quote me on that. But they did send me replacements for Mrs. Moderator. She uses the, I believe, the mechanical, the K70. I believe it's the Corsair K70. She uses the K70, and we had to replace one of the keys. And I hit up Corsair. I gave my address, and they sure enough sent me the keys in the mail. So that's just good to know. Maybe if you're shopping Logitech or Cooler Master, whatever your brand preference may be or style, maybe you don't like mechanical. Maybe it's too loud. You don't like the tack, 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 tack. Maybe you want a membrane. It's a little quieter. Maybe you don't want RGB. Maybe see what kind of warranty the manufacturer has before you go into buying it. But switching over, let's go back here because those were our component killers. Now, before we go over, some tips and tools and tricks you can do to help you combat all of these things we talked about, like help you keep your system maintained, how to avoid component killers like dust. That's dust inside of your cases, the inside of your heat sinks, your components. I showed you on the GTX 1650 Super right here, to where if dust built up on those heat sinks, how it would disrupt, it would create thermal throttling. The GPU would slow itself down. I wouldn't get as much frames, right, in our games. Come on, that's so important to us as PC gamers. Same thing with your monitor. Just keeping your monitor looking nice and mint, as Brian over at Tech Yes would say. Keeping your monitor looking nice and mint. What you want to do is to prevent dust and fingerprints, and maybe you just got blotches here and there, blemishes or what have you. Distilled water and a microfiber cloth. Not expensive at all. Like microfiber cloth and distilled water will cost you under $10. In fact, in the description box below in the basement, I've linked all of these tools that we're going to go over, where you can find. They're all super affordable, minus the electric blower. Minus the electric blower is a little expensive, but in my honest opinion, it's well worth it. Especially if you plan on, making regular upgrades to your system, or dust builds up a lot in your environment. But you want to use a microfiber cloth and distilled water to make sure when you're cleaning your monitor. And I also recommend you clean it vertically, right? Clean your monitor vertically. I told you I couldn't talk tonight, but and use distilled water. Don't press down, because dust and of it is essentially dust and heat, the key core component killers, right? Those are two of your key component killers. Now, one way to combat heat is to keep the dust in check. And that's what we're going to talk about moving into the third part of this conversation, right? And that's how to combat the component killers, right? So that is with a few tips, tricks, and tools to help maintain your PC setup. Now, I guess you probably know by now in our visual aids, I do like to kind of let the background serve as a subtle nod to what we're talking about. And a lot of the tools you see in the background of this visual aid, I've discussed and I've talked about up until this point for this live show. Right? You see, we have our microfiber cloth, one of those being most importantly. Some of the other ones we're going to talk about, and some of them might not even be applicable to you, like a glue gun. Maybe you don't need a glue gun. Maybe you don't need a soldering machine. That's what that is down there to the bottom left, or that'd be the bottom right of your screen. I'm not sure which, but it's the blue handle looking thing. But some of the other tools that we're going to talk about here, I definitely would recommend, even for the most casual of casual PC gamers, or if you don't plan on updating your parts a lot and you need to just maintain your system. Maybe you're comfortable with saying, well, Lab, hey, I'm comfortable with taking the pins out of my graphics card. I can unscrew the screw that holds it into the chassis and pull the pin back and pull it out and give it a nice cleaning and get all around the PC and lay it down and blow the dust around from the CPU heatsink. Which, on a side note, when you're dusting your CPU, your computer as a unit, I definitely recommend you try to do it in an open environment or an open area. That way the dust doesn't attract back inside your system. Try to do it in an area where the dust can disperse. Obviously, outdoors is the good, better, best scenario on how to approach that, but it's not always an option for a lot of us. So if you're limited in space, do try to pick like your dining room area or your living room area, an open area where you can go and blow the dust out. Now, again, what are some tips, tricks, and tools to help you maintain your setup? For one, dust prevention. Wow, who would have thought, right? We just did a whole spiel on dust prevention, but dust prevention could help you extend your parts a great deal. right? Now, start with cleaning out your dust filters and all dust trays. So, your system typically has a dust tray or dust filter underneath the power supply unit, and typically in the front of your case, depending on your case, depending on, what case you went with. But you want to make sure those are free of dust. Those usually slide out, and you can go, they slide out. They're easy to forget, but they're not hard to access. You just pull it out, and you may see a little circle. Could you imagine if all that dust got into your PC? But the problem is when it builds up on the filters, it prevents fresh air coming into your systems, right? And the dust just builds up. So it's important to pull those trays out and clean them off. Now, to limit the amount of dust accumulation, one thing I recommend, if you may feel like it's an extreme, but you can go with an air purifier, right? Believe it or not, air purifiers can help with limiting your dust. If it's really a problem for you in your area, like you say, you know what, it just gets really dusty where I live, consider an air purifier to help limit the amount of dust that is generated in your area. Now, an air purifier, in general layman terms, it circulates the air and filters it and captures it, right? It captures all the dust and other pollutants before your computer does. Even if it's a small one, a mini one, it's something I plan on doing once I expand in space to help keep all the computers that are going to be around me safe and dust free from the environment and just pollutants. It can go a long way with ensuring your components last a long time, and then consider it an upgrade. Who would have thought, right? Consider your air purifier an upgrade, part of your setup that helps the longevity of your system, right? Consider an air purifier. They're a little expensive, and depending on your area, it might be a little harder to obtain one, but they do come in a wide shapes of sizes and prices. I do recommend you give one a consideration if dust is a really big problem in your area. Now, you may also want to consider leaving your side panel on to reduce dust or debris being drawn inside the chassis instead of through the dust filters or through normal convention of how air just travels, right, inside your case and through your case and out the case or down to the side of your case. Most of the time, most of us want to take the panel off. It does help promote better temperatures. I have the glass panel off of Snow White right now, generally because it does get hot around here. But I have the side panel off on Snow White right now. So Snow White is susceptible to more dust and pollutants that are being pulled in around the case. Now, if dust is a huge problem, you may want to just compensate for the heat, right, and leave it on. And again, that way dust isn't being pulled inside your case. Now, what if you say lab? What if I can't get around either of those things? Well, here are a few options you can go with. Now, remember I told you I was going to share a few tools you could employ. And unlike graphics cards, right, unlike graphics cards, these are actually available, right? These are actually available. And we're going to start with, because we're on the subject of air, let me switch back here. Because we're on the subject of air. Now, here's what I recommend. And I actually use this same exact model. I use the same brand, everything. I recommend that you go with an air duster vacuum. Now, this one, you can see here, it's 500 watts, 120 volts. So it is really powerful. It's got some kick to it. Like, if I'm dusting off the table around me and everything, and I have like papers or just documents around or just keys or water bottles or what have you, it'll blow everything around it. So we're not kicking inside of a case. It really gets the job done. Now, I say it's a little expensive because some might not be willing, excuse me, I'm sorry. Some might not be willing or have the means to drop $52 USD on a blower. But I'm here to tell you it's well worth the investment. I have this same exact model here. This one comes with a few different nozzles. This here is my favorite, the one with the brush, because it allows me to really get in there and just have that air pushing through the power supply unit or what have you, or moving around the PCB, the motherboard. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, and just kicking the dust out into the air and outside of the case. This is a great tool, and I recommend excuse me, I do apologize. I recommend electric blower versus compressed air because one, compressed air eventually runs out. Like you would eventually have to buy another one depending on how much dust you're trying to fight. Remember, we talk about component killers and how to combat them. But depending on how much dust you may have to fight, you may find yourself replacing your compressed air cans more often than you like to. So with an electric blower, with an air duster vacuum, you get multiple usage, obviously, because you just plug it in. I just plug it in. This has paid dividends. I've cleaned PCs for clients, used them for my own machines, used them for recreational purposes, even just outside of cleaning for cars, what have you. Again, it doesn't suck. It blows. So, but it's really good for cleaning. As you can see here, even as it says car interiors, cameras, medical equipment, model vehicles, blinds, dry, wet surfaces, hard to reach places. It's my opinion of what makes it such a viable tool to help you combat dust, right? And again, all of these links you can find down in the description box below, down in the basement. I've done the research. I've priced some of the best ones you can find. You can find it right here. But it is loud. One of the downsides, it is loud, but it's very powerful. And I really like this one because you have different nozzles. You have like a straightforward one. You have like a wide one for your car. Just different nozzles, different options you could choose from depending on the situation. And that's always it's a biggie in my opinion. So you have to ask yourself, much like the air purifier, consider this just a tool to help you maintain your gaming PC. This is one of the courses. This is one of the reasons why I led with it first. This could be one of the reasons that help you the most with combating dust. See, Bad Habit says, yeah, I need one of those. No matter what I do, my apartment gets very dusty. And Bad Habit, I do want to share with all of you who are here and that stayed around this long. It was my original intent to do a form of giveaway, to give away these tools that we talked about, because I know that giveaways are such a sensitive topic amongst creators. But when you're giving away helpful items and services to your audience, things like this, it really does go a long way. As I imagine this and some of these other tools that I'm going to go over here in a second could really benefit you in terms of helping you maintain your gaming setup and maintain your gaming PC. Why is that? Because you can use this nozzle here to clean your keyboard. This would be a good nozzle to help clean your keyboard. Or what I would do is take your keyboard. If you can, take 2 crates, right? Take your keyboard, turn it upside down, and get underneath there like you were a mechanic and just blow it out. Obviously not directly so the debris falls into your face and in your mouth and everything. That'd be gross. But just get your hand underneath there, push your hand down, and just blow back and forth, right? Let all that debris come out. Get in your keys. Have your stuff looking nice and mint. This can also help you to when you're willing. Maybe you'd want to try to recoup some of your costs for your upgrade, right? Let's say you bought a new keyboard or you bought a graphics card, like Bad Habit, you're selling your 1080 Ti eventually, or the GTX 560. So let's say you want to get it cleaned up to sell, right? Having it be free and free of dust, it'll help it sell so much faster, because to a seller, they're like, man, this person really maintained this graphics card. It's clean, it's dust free. The blower, I call mine the data vac, right? Like the blower, I call mine the blower, the shop vac. It's a beast. It's got kick to it. Again, it's 500 watts. It's a lot of power. It's drawn from your wall. But it's been a tool that has helped me the most. Even if I'm like quick, if you just want to knock it out and you want to clean it up quickly, you want to jump in and say, I don't have time to take it apart. I just want to kind of just do a quick, clean. Then you bust out your data vac. Right in there, take your PC, kind of lay it down, blow it out, have the dust exit the system, and you'll be good to go. It's really helpful, especially with an attachment like this one here. Excuse me, with cleaning radiators, because your radiators are so hard to clean. They have such small fins, and you really don't want to bend them. So getting the dust out of there can be really tricky. But yeah. Christoph says, hi all. Chris, what's happening? Chris, it's good to see you, fam. Glad you made it for our live show. We're talking about some of the best ways to maintain your PC. Let me come back. I see we had a few people join us, but we're talking about some of the best ways to maintain your PC. We talked about why it's important to maintain your PC. And just to quickly recap, we talked about it's important to maintain your PC because, one, you want your parts to last as long as possible, right? Like you want them to last beyond their expected life expectancy. 2, you want to avoid any costly upgrades, like unscheduled upgrades due to hardware failure for your lack of maintaining your parts or being, aware of any potential issues that may be arising in your system, right? And then we talked about, component killers. We talked about dust and heat and how they're 2 of the biggest component killers, and how if left unchecked, heat especially can serve up as an insulator and cause your parts to thermal throttle to slow themselves down and not kill themselves. Or if you're running older hardware, it can almost certainly cause your parts to heat up and essentially die. That is the reality. So that's what we're talking about in this live show. For those of you who just joined us, welcome to the Inside the Weekly Lab experience. We're in the later portion of the live show where I'm going over some tools and going over some tips and tricks that you can deploy, that you can employ right now, right now, or if you don't have your system and you're getting ready to get into PC gaming, right? You're getting ready to get into PC gaming, and you're going to want to know these things regardless, either way, right? These are going to be helpful for you, and you should want to consider making these moves because dust is a problem for everybody. We talked about what dust is on a few live shows, and dust is a mixture of dead skin cells, hair fibers, pet dandruffs, other pollutants in the air. It's a hot mess of all of those things thrown into the mix. Chris, so welcome to the live show and welcome everybody who just joined us. Again, if you're unable to stick around for a good portion of the show, I will be sad, but I will also first point you to the Monday's recent upload where we did the RTX 3090 review. I do welcome you to head down in the description box below at any point should you have to check out or go back and watch that video at some point. It's a really awesome video. Really proud of it. Production value is insane. Getting a lot of good feedback on it too as well. So definitely check that out, Chris, if you haven't yet. You can find the link down in the description box below. But don't leave just yet, or if you could, it's 18 minutes long, so if you leave, we'll probably still be here. But yeah, after the live show, what have you, definitely give that video a watch. It's good times either way. But yeah, so we're talking about maintaining your PC, and we're talking about right now this segment. We're talking about some tips and tricks that can help you, or tools, tips and tricks that can help you keep your PC running great. Great, by great we mean efficiently, fam. And we're starting with the data vac, right? The X Power. And again, I recommend this over compressed air. One, you avoid like vapor spill, and that's where with a compressed can, if you don't hold it at a certain angle, it could also spit water, and could be detrimental to your system depending on how much and if it's left unnoticed. But yeah, your first tool you want to have in your arsenal is a duster of some form. If you want to go with a compressed, if you say $51 is too much, dust isn't an issue. Like if you don't need a purifier, that might be too much money. You can go with a compressed air can, right? You can go with compressed air. $7.29 is not bad. This little nozzle here is especially good to help you get into those tight creases from your keyboard. But again, you're going to want to make sure you're holding it at the correct position to prevent any vapor being spilled over from the can. But either way, the compressed air is just a little bit more economical approach. But some way either or you want a duster to help you combat dust as the name implies. Now another tool that could help, right? Because we talked about how having a duster can help. It is expensive. Again, yes, it's expensive. $50 is expensive for something you may not use all the time. That is essentially a gain, but it will help you it will save you a lot of time and headaches along the way. But another tool that I recommend you have in your arsenal to help you maintain your PC setup, and this is more so relative towards your the physical parts of your system, right? So like your keyboard, any PCBs, any physical parts of your system, right? And that is a nylon, is an anti-static brush kit. Now anti-static, I'd recommend anti-static if you want to protect your components, to be safe about it. But having a brush kit can really help. As you can see here in the illustration, they're showing you it's good for cleaning your fans. It's good for cleaning your keyboards. Your tool brush kit along with your duster is like a perfect combination to help you do both. Like you can use your anti-static brush kit, and again, you can find the links to all of these down in the description box below. If you're interested and you say, I got some stimmy, I got a little bit of disposable income, a little bit of extra money, I should probably buy this for my computer, or maybe for my son's computer or my daughter's computer. Maybe that is a good idea. Or Mom, if you're on your computer now, look down at your computer now and tell me if you have dust in it or around it on your keys. But this could help you, right, keep your system dust free along with your blower. And it's not that expensive. This is less than most of the games we buy, fam. Come on now. You better holla. This is less than most of the games we spend. $13, and you can use it obviously for reasons other than just your computer. As you can see here, it's good for your car. You can detail other electronics, but most importantly, it's really good for your keyboard because keys, especially on a mechanical keyboard, is really sensitive. You don't want them to break off easy. You don't want them to break off easy because chances are it's going to ruin the computer. And I had said it earlier, if it's one of the keys we use all the time, the W, the A, the yeah, I gotta look down. The W, the A, the S, the D, the shift or the control, E or F or I, it could really disrupt your flow. But you can see here it says good for cleaning machines, car detailing, interior vents, PCB. This is what's important, PCB, because that's like your motherboard, right? Any parts exposed to your graphics card, your RAM, all of those things. If you want to really get into those hard to reach places, right? So around the VRMs, around the heat sinks and things like that. If you want to get into those hard to reach places to where dust is really built up and it's like clunked in there and the blower is just really pushing the dust down, it's not clearing it. So you maybe need to go in there with, say, this brush here and just kind of loosen it up a little bit. You can loosen up the dust. Then you go in there with your data vac. You go in there with your shop vac. It's like a 1-2 punch. Not your compressed air. I'm not a fan of compressed air if you haven't noticed yet. But you go in there with your data vac and your brush. It's like a 1-2 punch. Loosen up the debris, right? Loosen up the debris on your PCB, around your motherboard, your heatsink, and then blow all the dust out and away from your internals, right? It'll help you fight off the dust. It'll help you combat that number one component killer, which is dust, right? It'll help you with maintaining your CPU temperatures. It'll help you make sure that your graphics card is running as cool as possible, that the fans are pushing the heat off the fan arrays and bringing in, pulling in cool air, depending on the type of cooler you have, which is also very important. If you have a reference blower style, this option might be a little bit harder for you to achieve, but very much you'd want to. I wish I had a reference card near me, but you'd want to clean around the center, the solo fan that's right there. Which, thank goodness, we've seen single blower shrouds kind of fizzle off and disappear here. With, say, since the RTX Super Series and the 20 series, we saw NVIDIA shift to using a 2-fan setup. And now even AMD, now with their reference RX 6000 series graphics cards too, are using a dual fan setup. So that's definitely welcome, in that they switched away from the single blower. But you essentially want to use those two tools to help you the most with getting rid of dust. Now, I did talk about cleaning your monitor, because I remember I told you can find all of these links down in the description box below. If this is something you need to achieve right now, like you look down at your PC and you like, man, lab is right, fam. I gotta clean my stuff now. Or I'm looking at my monitor and it's like grungy. There's blotches, there's blemishes on it. It's dusty. If you're unsure how dusty your monitor is, use like a sharp light, shine it on there, and turn your monitor off, and you see how the film that's over your monitor. And some good ways to clean it. Now, again, I told you want to use a distilled water and a microfiber cloth. Yo, Han Slomo. Han Slomo's in the house. Han Slomo says, yo, fam, happy to join again. Yeah, Han Slomo, it's good to see you. We're talking about some, best practices to maintain your PC. You're coming in towards the little back portion of the show, but we're on the subject of tools. Right, tools and tricks, tips and tricks and advice on how to use them. So, I know you're an experienced builder, an experienced tech enthusiast. If you have any, context to share to add to the conversation, do feel free to add at any time, Han Slomo. But it's good to see you. Han Slomo is our member here in the community that's over on some 7,000 plus miles away over in the Republic of China. So it's good. We're in two different, totally different time zones, but Han Slomo, it's always good to see our show regulars come in and join us for our live show, regardless of what point we're at. It's good to see you, Han Slomo. But again, we're talking about some different tools you can use to help you with maintaining your PC, to help you combat some of the component killers, right? So we talked about using the data vac, right? We talked about using the data vac. If you and if any of you already use these things, do tell me in the chat. You say, hey Lab, I have one of those. I do use one. Or hey Lab, I do have a fine brush cleaning kit in my arsenal, right? Like, this is pretty awesome. The different, look, even tweezers for getting some of the, for picking up wires. I'm not sure why you want tweezers around PCB. But I mean, you just have different size brushes at different needle sizes too, and this can be really helpful again with helping you free up some of the dust or just debris that's clunked up around your heat sink or on your feet fan arrays or even on your AIO. And even as demonstrated right here, not right here, it's demonstrated right here in this example. This person is using it to clean our fans. It's really delicate to clean fans. I like everything, all aspects of PC gaming except for cleaning fans, because it's like the one thing that really grinds to a halt, because you really have to take your time and just not press down too hard from that other side of the fan. And the dirt, it just feels like it's really caked on there, and you don't want to use like water or an alcohol or ammonia based cleaner, because it'll ruin the fan in the RGB. So you really want to. This is a delicate process with cleaning the fans, and it's one of my least favorite things to do. But as you can see, even here in this example here, the illustration, they're cleaning a CPU fan heatsink, and again, it'd be really hard to get if you don't have a brush. How would you get inside there? Your blower would maybe be able to get some of the loose dirt that's caked up in there. But for the most part, how do you free up the dust that's already caked deep down inside of there? This fine brush toolkit costs $13. And I was explaining to Bad Habit, for those of you who weren't on or if you didn't miss it, originally I wanted to give away a blower and a anti-static brush kit, but the logistics, last minute I thought about it'd be kind of a nightmare, so I'll find other ways. Maybe just do Amazon gift cards that aren't region locked, and if you want to invest in these things to help you and if it gets a giveaway, I'll do that, and that's something I'll consider on a live show. But I will make it fun, and they'll likely be trivia based, so that everybody has an opportunity to win, and not even where you have to be knowledgeable, just trivia based, either by myself, the brand, my hardware, what have you. So yeah, but as you can see here again, look, cleaning the back of the graphics card. So that's part of the PCB. So it's a very sensitive component. But if you want to make sure, say if you want to get your part ready to sell, right? You're trying to clean the component up to get nice and mint. Again, as our boy over at Brian, over there, my boy down under would say, my guy over at Tech City would say, you want to get your parts looking nice and mint. You want to invest in a brush and a brush kit. It's only $13. Depending on where you are, you might even qualify for free shipping. It's almost, you can't afford to almost not have one. As Your Highness says, brush kit, heck yeah. Or they just said yeah. But Your Highness, I feel that, because I feel like Your Highness, we're more saying like brush kit, heck yeah. Like, come on. All of the dust is a problem for all of us enthusiasts. We all have to deal with dust. So you figure when you're able to have a solution like this multi-use brush kit, it can have I like their marketing, or it can help you with keeping your components clean. But I like their marketing, their marketing tagline here: every corner, every gap. Well, there's a lot of those in computer components, right? Come on, y'all better talk to me. There's a lot of those in computer components. Han Slomo says, I am frequently swapping parts for testing, so I use those times for cleanup as well. Alcohol wipes, a brush, and my iFixit kit. LOL. Yeah, iFixit is an awesome kit. Believe it or not, I have like 3 different screwdriver kits, and for some odd reason, I like one specific tool in each kit. And I probably told myself, dude, if you just would have got yourself iFixit, you probably would have had that. But I'm weird like that, right, bro? Like, I'm weird like that. I'll use, like, I have my hammer, my electric screwdriver. That's my go-to. It's a Black & Decker, hand. We call it the hammer, but it's really good for screws that need a little bit more torque, and it's really helpful when I'm like installing fans between the chassis. Bad Habit says never even thought about those. Yeah, Bad Habit. So again, hey, listen, if you got a little bit disposable income, they were let's jump back here. It's $13, and this can be especially helpful. Everybody has a keyboard, right? That's inescapable. Everybody has a keyboard. So even at least if you want to find a way to safely clean your keyboard, this is the way at $13. Again, you can find the links to all of these things and more down in the basement, aka the description box below. That's what we call the basement. But you can find all of these links and more down in the description box below. No is in the house. No says hi. What's happening? No, they don't say what's happening, but they do say hi. What's good? No. Welcome to the weekly live experience. I see we had a couple more people join us. Welcome to the weekly live experience, the weekly live Q&A experience. We are discussing some of the ways to maintain your PC setup, why it's important, some of the component killers, and also how to combat those. For those of you who are just joined into our weekly show, first of all, welcome. If this is your first time here, for one, I definitely do welcome you to like. And if you're new here to the channel, I definitely welcome you to subscribe. If you're unable to hang out for the full duration of this live show, I welcome you to find the most recent video that we released on Monday, the RTX 3090 video. I continuously plug it throughout the live show. Super proud of that video. If you haven't had a chance to yet watch it, watch that video. It is an amazing watch. I'm telling you, it's an amazing watch. The story is amazing. After you watch it, comment down below and let me know what you thought. Let me know what you thought. And after you watch it, you'll see why we're saying that. And don't read the comments. Don't go in with any spoilers. Just go right in and watch the video. It's 18 minutes long, forewarning. But I tell you, there's value and entertainment packed in just about every minute through the duration of that video. If you're here and you've seen it, which I know Bad Habit's seen it, I had the opportunity to engage with you, and I know Bad Habit's seen it, and to name a few, some others that left that I've had the opportunity to engage on. But yeah, if you haven't yet seen it, please head down there, and you can't hang out to this live show. Give it a watch at some point during the week. It's an awesome watch. But we're talking about component killers. We talked about why it's important to maintain your setup. And overall, fam, I want you to save money. It's a duality behind the core value prop of this channel. It is to serve as your PC hardware guide and to help you save time and money on this otherwise expensive hobby, right? Now, it's important to maintain your PC because it can be costly for you to have to make unnecessary upgrades. And by unnecessary, the example I used earlier was to where if your system had a 550 watt power supply unit that failed because it was poorly had poor airflow, and you say, well, I'm just going to upgrade to a 750 watt power supply. Like I said, you have to ask yourself, would you have made that upgrade if your PSU had not failed? Right? At that point, it's not a scheduled upgrade. It's a forced upgrade. TMZ says, quick tip, a water trap for your air compressor if you live in a high humidity area. That's actually, very important because, it'll start to produce liquid. So, if you're in an area that suffers from a lot of humidity, then yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to go with a water trap. Put it underneath there because water brings life, and it can also take it away, right? It has the power to create, and it has the power to destroy. Unlike flames, unlike fire. I don't want to get too religion to turn anybody off, but this is why, according to the Old Testament, God sent water instead of fire, because fire doesn't have the ability to create. Well, yes and no, I guess it depends, but for the most part, water definitely can bring harbor life, but also take it away to some extent. But yeah. And Bad Habit says disposable income. What is that? Listen, fam, I got 4 children, and I haven't seen disposable income in years. Mrs. Mom might kill me because she's right here on the moderating the chat, but I haven't seen disposable income in quite a while now. But hey, it's part of the hustle, and you gotta hustle. You gotta find ways to make money. So this is why I'm negotiating behind the scenes with brands and trying to find ways that we could open up, monetization here on the channel. That way I could also free up my time to put as much energy and effort into the content. But I feel you, Bad Habit. Not everybody has disposable income. But if you have a STEMI coming your way and you're looking for some tools to help you out with keeping your system clean, consider one, a data vac. Altogether, it may cost you about $100. One-time charge off, and these will all be tools that will save you hundreds of dollars down the road. And so long as you're taking care of your tools will continue to take care of you. But you have your data vac, your duster, your air duster, your anti-static brush kit was $13 and $50. It's about $74.75, and then your microfiber kit. So a little, close to $90, depending on where you live. You might have taxes and shipping applied. And then of course distilled water, which isn't hard to find. You can find it at any grocery store. But distilled water you want to use to clean your monitors, right, and any other aluminum or sensitive components. And again, you want to go with a microfiber cloth, scratch free. And obviously, that's important to your monitor. You don't want your monitor to have scratches running across it. And it's absorbent, so you don't have to worry about like streaks going across your monitor when you're cleaning it with distilled water. So again, all of these links, you can find them all down in the description box below, right? They are Amazon links, so it's just another way that I earn small amounts of money here on the channel because they are commission-based links, so I do earn a small commission when you purchase these products from those links. It comes to no extra cost to you, and it does help me in a very small but impactful way. So you can find all of those down in the description box below. But one of the key things you can do, and again, this could definitely depend on your lifestyle. And I'm not here to tell you how to live, I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money, but this could depend on your lifestyle. But keeping your area smoke free and pet free could really help reduce dander, pet dander, and just dust and just overall gunk build up on your fans, especially like nicotine or what have you, or if you're vape. Kudos to you if you do it. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. That lifestyle's on you. I'm just here to tell you you can reduce those things if you avoid smoking around your units, right? And keep your pets away from units. I just said my cat Piper. His name is Piper Boom Thrust Zoom Kitty. He's not around. At least I don't think he's around. My dog is. Hold on. Come here, buddy. I scared him a little bit. He's a little. He needs a bath and a cut. But this is Roscoe. He's camera shy. Roscoe, say hi to the camera. Say hi. So this is Roscoe, and he just can't keep himself out of the lab, and he's yawning because I woke him up. Actually, he was actually laying down. He's yawning because I woke him up, and he doesn't really like the camera. And he's a little older. He's a little weathered. He's seasoned. He's an older pup, and we rescued him. He's a rescue. But we can't keep this guy away. So listen, again, I'm not going to have nobody tell me, say, listen, keep your pet away from my computer. They're going to tell me where to keep my pet, fam. I'm just here to tell you that if you are going to have your pets around, like this guy and my cat who he can climb. He can't jump and climb. My cat can jump and climb. So it's a double annoyance. And the cat sheds his coat more than my dog. But, you want to consider keeping your pets away from your system, away from your components, especially if you have to keep your system on the ground, right? Especially if you have to keep your system on the ground. You want to avoid, right, your pets. Don't have your cat laying on top of I see pictures, I'm like, oh, that's cute and all, fam, but come on, your cat is essentially smuggling your computer. Which one do you love more, your cat or your computer? Don't answer that question. I love both. I'm a big time cat. I like cats more than dogs. Hold on. Let me cover his ears. I like cats more than dogs, but I love both. I love my computer and my cats. But I don't think it's a good idea to keep the cat on top of your computer, right? Bad Habit says Roscoe, LOL. Roscoe is so cute. Yeah, he's a Yorkshire Terrier and a poodle mix. He's a special kind of breed. He's bred that way. But yeah, Bad Habit says Roscoe's favorite game is Animal Crossing. That'd be fun. I know, right, pup? Like, you play some Animal Crossing. I tried Animal Crossing. Fun stuff. All right, but sorry we woke you up, but we had to, last week it was Piper. My cat was in here with us, so I picked him up, put him on camera. But you want to keep your pets and avoid smoking around your computer. It's going to help reduce the amount of gunk and the nicotine that builds up in your fans. Because imagine, where does that smoke go? Even if you're smoking a tobacco cigarette and you exhaust the smoke. The deposits that are in the smoke, right, the nicotine or what have you, those things will attach onto the fan and other parts of your system. I'm not here to tell you it's right or wrong. That's entirely up to you, right? To each their own. I'm not here to tell you how to live. I'm just here to tell you how to make sure you keep your PC parts running as efficiently as possible. TMZ says PC off the floor if you can, or a piece wood under the PC. And TMZ is right. That's the Mr. Zombified, because if it's on the floor, if you have to absolutely put your PC on the floor, and you have if you have hardwood floor, it might be okay. But if you have carpet, your carpet is essentially going to smother, right? It's going to smother the air underneath of your PC, and it's not going to be very good. Now, quite naturally, hot air rises and cold air sinks. So that's one of the benefits to having your PC on the ground, is that it's usually typically cooler. Like even underneath the table here, right? It's just so much cooler underneath of the table as compared to like up here. It's just a little hotter, right? And again, hot air rises and cold air sinks. So there is a benefit to having it down there, as you can enjoy slightly colder temperatures. But you do, as TMZ mentioned, you want to have some type of buffer underneath. The same thing applies to a gaming laptop. If you're considering gaming on a laptop, same thing applies to a gaming laptop. You don't want to put your laptop, on your lap. It's contradictory to the name of it being a laptop. But you want to have something underneath of there, a book. You want to have at least some space so the heat from the laptop can push down. Unfortunately, laptops aren't made, aerodynamically smart in my opinion, because the exhaust is right beneath the surface, and there's the feet that are underneath laptops typically aren't thick enough to allow enough space for the heat to properly ventilate from underneath of the laptop. It's just being pushed back into the system, and this is why most laptops heat up and die. I remember my old Athlon AMD laptop definitely heated up and died in the motherboard. It's killed out. And a few costly upgrades later, and still no laptop. I totally regret it. But the same thing goes with your PC, right? If you have to put it on the ground, avoid avoid having it on carpet without something to keep it off of the ground, right? Some cases even have a little like holder for your tower, your chassis to go in, that provides even more, headroom underneath of your PC than just a standard feet would. Like the PC is so heavy, first of all, on carpet, the PC is heavy, it's just going to sink down to the bottom anyway, right? Like your PC is just going to sink down to the bottom. So even if you think, oh well, it should have enough, enough space, no, your PC is heavy, it'll just sink to the carpet. So you want a solid, flat surface to rest your PC on so that it can breathe properly. Like think about your system needing to breathe. Computers need to breathe, right? They rely on fresh air to help keep them cool, right? And if it's being smothered, it won't get that. Your system will pay a huge price. It's part of maintaining your system. Han Slomo says, and cotton buds, lots of them, or cotton balls. I think that's a typo. I think Han Slomo means cotton balls. I use Q-tips. Although Q-tips can kind of unravel at times. It depends on what you're doing. But actually, I found to share my secret, my tip. Actually, what I use is makeup remover pads. Makeup remover pads and Espeparol, rubbing alcohol does wonders for cleaning. But I like the makeup remover pads because they don't frail and they don't dust off and flake off. You can get multiple wipes out of them. I bought a pack of makeup remover packs one time, and I still have them, right? Because when I'm removing thermal paste and things like that, I use the makeup remover pad, and just so much easier than anything else, right? It's just so much easier. It's like meant for it. But yeah, absolutely. It all goes to having the necessary tools, right, in your arsenal. So yeah, I mean, tell me again, if you already use some of these tools that we've gone over, if you use some of them, or if you consider using some of them, tell me what you've used in the past to help you maintain your gaming PC or maintain your setup, right? Because we've discussed so many different strategies you can employ when it comes to maintaining your PC. And I talked about it. Maintaining your PC extends beyond just, cleaning it. In the first part of this live show, we talked about making sure your Windows is up to date, making sure your microcode is up to date if you're comfortable with doing that, make sure your chipset drivers are up to date, make sure any anti-cheat underneath the hood, any software that's running in the background, make sure that's up to date. All of that falls under the category of maintaining your setup, because you may get performance in one game now, or let's say 3-4 months ago, you're playing Cyberpunk 2077, which bad example. But let's say, maybe in Fort, you were getting 70, 80 FPS at competitive settings, but now you notice you can barely hit 60 and you're not quite sure what happened. Well, believe it or not, microcode updates do come with performance breaking or performance enhancing features that come along with it, and the same thing with microcode updates. So making sure, and chipset drivers especially, right? Because when new CPUs are released, there's certain bugs that AMD and Nvidia, or AMD is Nvidia as a GPU chip maker, but as more specifically AMD and Intel as they get the kinks out of their CPUs, they release those in microcode and BIOS code updates. So, and it will help either the performance of your system, either help your CPU boost to a higher clock speed frequency, right? Or help with PBO2, that's precision boost overdrive 2. And that just helps your CPU clock frequency boost as high as it possibly can, so long it has the appropriate cooling solution and cooling overhead. But we've discussed many strategies you can employ when it comes to maintaining your PC things, because like most things we care about, going the extra mile means taking the necessary steps to protect your investment. Okay, again, you take care of the things that take care of you. It's one of the running themes of this live show. You want to take care of the things that take care of you. Avoid, protect your investment. Avoid any self-imposed costly upgrades, because those should all be voluntary. Don't bind yourself in a position where you think you're upgrading because your graphics card failed, or you broke your monitor cleaning it, so you're like, oh, now I'm gonna finally jump into 1440p that Inside the Lab and his community of awesomeness has been bragging about for the longest time, because a lot of us are big time 1440p gamers, and it's an awesome resolution to play at. I do plan on doing more 1440p content coming up here in a live or on the channel. And if you haven't yet, if you had a few people join us, if you haven't yet, do like this stream on your way in or on your way out. Either way, it does help give it a bump up in the algo and the lowered algo. Excuse me. And if you're unable to hang out any longer, and you got to bounce, I first welcome you to head down in the basement description box. One, check out any of these products we talked about. We talked about, the blower. You got your blower, $50 compressed air blower. We talked about, your fine anti-static brush toolkit under $13 that could help you keep your system clean. And we talked about having an array of microfiber cloths, which are all washable, and that could help you anyway. Because there's so many of them, you shouldn't really need to clean your monitor as extensively anyway, just getting the dust and the fingerprints lifted off of it. But avoid any self-imposed costly upgrades. Your keyboard too, right? Your video card, AIO, cooler. God forbid one component fails and it causes another component to fail, i.e. your CPU fan heatsink being unable to properly cool your CPU. So then what happens is your CPU overheats and fries out and kills itself, right? Now you're in the market for a new CPU, and you're in the market for a new cooler. A costly upgrade, all because, you didn't properly maintain your system. You missed out on this live show, or, you didn't catch the replay, which shout out to our replay viewers. And, it forced you to have to make a costly upgrade, an unscheduled upgrade. That's very important. I brand it that way, an unscheduled upgrade. Let your upgrades be voluntary, right? Not because you damaged something along the way, or you got hit by one of the component killers like dust. Because it's just horrible. Dust is horrible, but it's part of life, and it's a part of being a PC gamer. All right, now I think the ride is slowly coming to an end. Right, this is the weekly live experience, and essentially we chalk it up to being for those of you who like roller coasters. I love roller coasters. I know everybody. Mrs. Mod, I'm gonna put her on blast. She don't do roller coasters. She's terrified of them. But our live show is like a roller coaster. So, the ride is slowly coming to an end. I think it's time to slow down the ride. I do want to take a minute real quick before we officially conclude and give thanks to everybody. Again, if you're here on the replay, you made it this far. Wow, right? Like, you're awesome. Hello. Right? If you made it this far in the replay, well, shout out to our replay viewers. But if you made it this far, we go live every Saturday at 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. I welcome you to join us if you're unable to. Mrs. Amify says the routine backup schedule is a good idea too. And you know what? You're absolutely right. That definitely goes with maintaining your system and making sure you're protecting your data, making sure that you avoid, if you have a hard drive failure, which can be really detrimental to your data. It's good to back up your, do a routine backup. That's either backing up all of your Windows files and everything associated with it, or backing it up off of, like, say, an external hard drive, like this here. I got one laying around, right? This is a 1 terabyte Western Digital USB Type-C external hard drive, and You know, I do regular backups to this, or I have an external SSD I use to back up the videos off of platform just in case something happens to the channel. Which is why, again, you want to sign up for our email list. Shameless plug, but if you haven't yet, do sign up for our email list. But again, I want to take a minute to shout out and say everyone who stopped by. Again, if you're here on the live show, the replay shout out to you. Tell me down in the comments if you had any questions about anything we talked about during this live show. But I do want to give a shout out to the Mrs. Zombified, which I've now starting to call you TMZ. I do want to give a shout out to TMZ, Han Slomo, Thunder, our moderator. Shout out to Mrs. Mod, Bad Habit, of course, Bad Habit. Our regulars, No. What's up, No? No, you still here? Tell us if you're still here. No. You always seem to miss the come in when the live shows are wrapping up. But Your Highness, it's good to see you, Your Highness. Chris, if you're still here, let us know, Chris. It was good to always see you come on board and say hello, pop in and say hi to everybody. Let me see. Tricion was on board. It's good to see Tricion too as well. And I see we have somebody else join on and talking about maintaining your PC. But if you're just now joining on, sorry you missed our weekly live show. But I do welcome you to, after this is posted and you want to catch some of the content in early on, I would start it at about the 5 to 10 minute mark, as we really go in and I kind of rant about the GPU situation and the current climate of the GPU market. But if you want the goodies, if you want the value, definitely head back in the beginning of this one after the conclusion. And if you can't hang around, I do welcome you to head in the description box. Look for our most recent video. It's the review of the RTX 3090 I did. That video is a straight up smash. I love that video. It's one of my favorite videos I've produced here on the channel. Awesome production value. The story is hitting the story is hitting. It's just a great experience. I welcome you to check that video out. If you're coming on board and you're like, I'm out of here. They're wrapping up. I ain't hanging around. Please, I welcome you. First, head down to that video if you haven't yet. I know a lot of you here have, like Tricion and Mrs. Amify, Bad Habit. No, I don't think you've watched that video. No, head over to that video. It's 18 minutes long, but I tell you what, it's a solid story. I welcome you to, to give it a watch. But shout out to all of you who made it to the live show. I definitely do appreciate it. We're also going to do another pop-up live stream. I owe you one for the month of March. It will happen before the month of March. I apologize for us not being able to get it out in the beginning of the week, but it's all good. They're LOL. They're saying TMZ, LOL. Yeah, and I mean, for those of you who don't know, TMZ, it's like a popular media, like publisher, I guess, if you will. I guess it stands for television. I'm not even sure what the TMZ stands for in the TV service, but I think it just goes with the Mrs. Zombified. You got TMZ. But yeah, Thunder says, I like that name. Again, if this minute before we check out, if you have any last comments or statements you want to make, have read back, or anything you'd like to say or just now would be the time to do so as we wrap up. And No says, okay, will do. Yeah, No. Hey, listen, I appreciate every single one of you. Be sure that you like that video. After you watch the RTX 3090 video, comment down below. I'm pretty sure it's like the movie Inception. You tell somebody you recommend you watch the movie Inception, they like, you say, hey, let me know what you watch. Tell me how many times did you watch it. It's kind of like that. So when you watch that video, comment below and let me know what you think, as you'll want to, you'd want to share it. And the Mrs. Amify says TMZ stands, or Thunder says the Media Zoo. It doesn't really stand for that, or are you trolling us, Thunder? Because ironically, they cover like pop culture, artists, and celebrities, and it almost is like a zoo, right? It does feel like it, but it's like it's like, what? The Media Zoo? Or is that just some random acronym you just decided to try to come up right now? Bad Habits says, have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for another great live. Yeah, listen, fam. This is my least favorite part, and that's saying goodbye. Right? Miss Moderator would tell you, Mrs. Ma would tell you, I told her, look, man, I say, if it's still vibing and we're still going, I hate saying goodbye, especially when we're still in it and the conversation is on and going. That's why I said towards the back end here. As most replay viewers don't make it towards the back end, I don't mind deviating from the valuable content and just moving on to the more conversational part of the live show, because this is a live experience, y'all. This is a live experience. And if you were wanting here for the house cleaning segment, our community Discord will launch before the end of this month. and email subscribers, right? Those of you who are subscribed to the email list, you will get invitations first. So if you want to join our Discord, which is going to be a happening place to just either barter or ask questions and just hang out and engage, it's the first step in bringing the community together on a unified platform where we can all talk to each other. And after, once channel memberships either become a thing here on YouTube or we activate and enable them on Patreon, it'll be closed for behind the paywall. So, if you want early access and exclusive VIP, I definitely recommend you sign up for our email list. Find our email list. It's right in the description box below. And most of the time I do drop it in the pinned comment after the replay process is over on YouTube side. Definitely going to want to sign up for our email list. I have more announcements that are going to come out that way, starting with our community Discord and channel memberships, because a lot of you have hit me up and say, hey, we want to support the channel, we want to support the hustle, we want to support the brand, we want to support the mission. And I'm like, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys wholeheartedly for that, and I do want to try to implement strategies, because right now there's no direct way to where if you did want to bless me with your hard-earned money for producing valuable content for you here on this platform, there's really no way for you to do that. So with a channel membership, even down to just the basic $2 tier or $3 tier, you'd be able to support the channel. And as we get more, more channel members sign up over there, it could really go a long way and help the community grow, help me convert over to 100% full-time content creation, not just being a YouTuber. There's more to the content creating than just being a YouTuber. It's very important that even our viewers know that. It's just, you're not just creating content on YouTube. I arguably create more content off of YouTube than I do for YouTube. I just spend more time prepping for the content on YouTube. That's because you boys and girls, you guys are awesome. And I literally do it for you. And again, if you're just now joining us, we're wrapping up. But whoa, hey, I said the word they tell us don't say, right? The trigger word. But I do welcome you to head down in the description box below, find the RTX 3090 review, and as we conclude this live show, I do welcome you to give that video a watch. Let me see here if I can find the link. But I do welcome you to give that video a watch. Let me know what you think. Comment down below what you think about it, because I put a lot of creative juice into that video, fam. And even then, I knew it had to get out, or it would have never, it just would have been, trying to target perfection. And we all know perfect is the enemy of good. And I published a video when I thought it was good enough. But I'm gonna put it here in the chat. And if you haven't seen it yet, I highly welcome you. As the live show is concluding, and you want more PC gaming content, I highly recommend you give that video a watch, like, comment, let me know what you thought. Again, we go in on the production value, and it's just an overall good time if you haven't had a chance yet to give it a watch. But again, for those of you just joined us, we're concluding with our live show, with our weekly live experience. We go live every Saturday between 4 and 5 o'clock. So we do welcome you to join us. I try to get the reminder links out about, usually when the live show concludes. If we're not shooting for a regular video upload, which we do have a video upload coming up, which, I hate to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to drop a little spoiler alert. Finally going to look at the relevancy of DLSS with this RTX 3090. So we're looking at DLSS and trying to see if it's even worth anybody's time and effort with enabling it or even pursuing 30 base series or 20 base series graphics cards to take advantage of DLSS 2.0. So that's what's coming up on the docket. It may not be a Monday release, possibly a next Monday release or Tuesday release, but the live streams normally go up about Monday or Tuesday. So again, if you're unable to make it, please give it a like. Please give it a like. Like the videos. Liking the content really helps go a long way. So even if you're unable to make the live show, you have another commitment, which is perfectly understandable. Like the live stream, and if you're able to, comment down below with a question or even in a live chat, and I will bring it up right here during the live show, or I will answer it right there in the comment section, right? But yeah, again, thanks everyone for hanging out during this YouTube live. I do hope to catch you all on the next one. If you do like to continue the conversation, as again, we have our mid-roll credit set, our end credit scene up, and I normally will let it run a little bit while before we wrap the show up, as people just kind of slowly, because again, this is a live experience, and if we all just got on a roller coaster together, which is what I want this to feel like, if we all just got off the roller coaster together, what are one of the first things we're all going to want to huddle up and do? Talk about it, right? Talk about it. So that's why towards the end, I still hang back. I don't show my mug. I kind of show you some funny bloopers or some never before seen footage. Maybe you haven't seen them all. It runs for about 5 to 10 minutes. But there's a couple never before seen bloopers that I run towards the end there. So, and I hang out. Maybe you have any last minute questions you want answered, or it's just to hang out in the chat and just kind of talk to you as we slowly, let everybody up out of the building. But again, thanks for hanging out for this YouTube live. I do hope to catch you all in the next one. So until then, you know what to do. Be easy. Bad Habit, peace out to you too, brother. Peace out to you, Bad Habit. Peace out to everybody who decided to hang out up there during the post-show chat. Peace out to everybody. Zombified with Race Car. Listen, fam, I appreciate all, everybody that decided to hang out. Listen, fam, y'all enjoy this beautiful Saturday. Enjoy the content, enjoy each other, stay safe, stay clean, and, stay frosty, keep it 100.